support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. According to the CDC today, there are 4,405,932 cases of COVID-19 in the United States. A total of 150,283 patients have died. Now, this spring, a team working under Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, produced a plan for an aggressive, coordinated national COVID-19 testing plan that was supposed to have brought the pandemic under control. After assembling a team that came up with this plan, Kushner then decided, okay, we're just going to scrap it. Now, today on Capitol Hill, you, of course, had all of the drama on Capitol Hill. You were dealing with Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying, and then Jim Jordan was his, usual making an ass out of himself. And so just listen to some of the back and forth that was going on in this hearing. Go ahead, yeah. Rob, you're from Ohio. There's nothing like it. I mean, Jim Jordan's one of the biggest asses on Capitol Hill. Here's what's interesting about Jim Jordan's question. Should government limit protests? Government actually can't limit protests. The reason Fauci is making the statement is that actually people are assembling on their own. What government does, what government can do, like for instance, when government says we're closing the beaches, okay, government actually can't say, no, we're taking tickets. There are only going to be 50 people at this protest. That's really what Fauci was saying. Fauci was saying, see, Jordan wanted him to say no protest. That's what he said. He said, I'm saying no mass groups.
No, I mean, he made it clear. And Jim Jordan is he's an asshole. I don't know, he's a lot of things, but he shouldn't be in office. And you would point out to me, he is from Ohio. I don't claim him, though. And some people do. He got elected somehow. I don't know. But he is trying to set up this false narrative. He's trying to get his base say they're trying to take away your right to go to church while they go out there and protest for crazy things like making sure black people's lives matter and don't get killed. And they're trying to rile up their base and set up like the government is trying to stop you from exercising your right, but letting those people exercise their right. We know what they're doing. And, we have to make sure people get out, vote, and end not only Trump, but Trumpism, which stands for this, which stands for dividing people along race, that says our lives doesn't matter. That's, I'm sure you talked about this. The current president occupying the White House said he wants to delay the election. They want to just make up new rules. That's what they want to do.
Lauren, again, you're sitting here, and I'm looking at all these conservatives on social media. Oh, Fauci, he wouldn't say the words. He wouldn't say the words. The man said there should not be mass gathering of people anywhere because that is helping to spread the disease.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say, right? We're sitting here with 152,000 Americans dead in a pandemic. We have some of the worst rates of infection and death on the planet. Anthony Fauci has been a doctor his entire life, obviously worked on the AIDS crisis, obviously a renowned physician. And unfortunately, as part of his job, he has to sit and listen to stupid, inane questions by idiots that get elected to Congress from people who are dumb enough to vote for them. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch. It's particularly embarrassing and dangerous when we have, over 1 million people infected and over 152,000 dead and counting. And we don't know when that count ends. And so it's shameful, really. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than Jim Jordan and his idiot friends. It's just stupid. The fact that, you want to reroute the narrative, you want to make a YouTube tape for yourself, for your constituents to look at, or for you to put on your website, and that has become the reason that you sit in Congress. That has become the reason that you are questioning a physician that's trying to save lives in this country and waste everybody's time, waste that physician's time, waste precious time off the clock as people are dying. It doesn't get any more embarrassing. It doesn't get any more stupid. I do think we're probably going to see some sort of a wave election on November 3rd, because at some point, people have had enough. And when you have 40 million people who file for unemployment and this many people dead,
right.
Maybe perhaps this is the moment. One could only hope so, because I don't know what else can happen to convince some of these people to stop voting for these idiots to come into Congress and sit and
Right.
ask dumbass questions.
So hold on. So Derek, I'm about to show another idiot. This is really funny. So this guy, Blaine.
Why are these people idiots and Democrats not?
No, because no, I'm about to wait, because I'm about to explain to you. So here's a guy, Representative Blaine Luetkemeyer, whatever it is. He's a farmer. He later owned a bank and worked as an insurance agent. And so Fauci, who's a doctor, they're talking about hydrochloroquine. Listen to this exchange.
Things you made a comment a while ago with regards to hydroxychloroquine, and I have an article here that quotes the Henry Ford Health System, who did an extensive study on hydroxychloroquine, and they say that it significantly reduces the death rate of COVID patients. The study was highly analyzed by peer-reviewed, unlike many other studies, and quoting the executive officer said, as doctors and scientists, we look at the data for insight, and the data here is clear. There was a benefit to using the drug as a treatment for sick and hospitalized patients. And in talking with a lot of older doctors who have been around a while, and I trust their judgment and their use of hydroxychloroquine, they say that the initial studies didn't really use zinc with it, and they say that zinc is an enabler to be able to help hydroxychloroquine actually do its job of going after and reducing deaths in patients. Had a long conversation with a doctor earlier in the week, and he said, yes, as long as zinc is there, it really definitely does work. Without it, it's minimally effective. Would you like to comment on that?
Thank you for that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It said it was peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial. The point that I think is important, because we all want to keep an open mind, any and all of the randomized placebo-controlled trials, which is the gold standard of determining if something is effective, none of them had shown any efficacy for hydroxychloroquine.
Derek, but it's peer reviewed.
Well, first of all, I'm baffled and don't understand at what point, when in history, have peer reviews not been taken seriously?
Because the point. No, hold on. You said when? The point that Fauci was stating is.
The second thing I want to ask is.
Hold on. You asked the first one. Let's answer it. Hold on. You asked the first one. Hold on. Wait. You asked the first one. Can we answer the first one before you go to the second one?
No, I'm not finished.
No, wait. Hold on. No. You said.
And I said second. Let me finish.
Hold up. We're gonna answer the first one, and then you can ask the second one. So to answer,
that's how I want to do it.
Well, that's how I want to do it. Derek, that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna answer one question. Derek. It's like when I have two questions. I ask the first one, get an answer to it, then I ask the second one. Well, right. No, but that's actually how hosts do it. So here's the deal. So no. So you asked, no. Of course we're gonna do it my way. So you asked. How is it a peer review? So here's it. No. I'm gonna bring all three of you in. You asked peer review.
No, you asked me a question, I'm gonna answer the question.
Derek, Fauci answered it. He said just because it's. Hold on. This is the deal. This is just real simple. I'm gonna play again Fauci's answer. I want you to listen. No, I want you to listen to it. Hold up. You asked, when do we not pay attention to peer review? Fauci answered it. Folks, press play. Press play, folks.
That's Fauci.
Press play.
Thank you for that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It said it was peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled.
Okay, so Derek, he just said you can.
If you let me finish.
He can say you can peer review a bad study. That answers your question.
Next thing I was going to say, if I can ever finish on your show.
Go ahead.
Everybody on this panel has, didn't agree with their doctor and we got a second opinion. Why the hell does Dr. Fauci got to be the end all to be all? We can get a second opinion because there are other doctors who disagree with Dr. Fauci. And they have PhDs just like him, and they're not wrong for disagreeing with Dr. Fauci.
I got a question for you.
I'm not wrong for disagreeing with what y'all have to say.
Actually, if we're stating facts and you're not stating facts, then you can be wrong.
That's your opinion.
But Rob, here's the deal. Rob, here's the deal. This is the person who is head of the what? NIH. This is the person who. Well, of course you don't care, but this is the person. This is the person who. No, he's just not just a doctor. There's like he's not that. Rob, he's just not that crazy woman down in Texas who believed in demon sperm and demon DNA. No, and so no, it's actually it's not my opinion. It's my opinion, but also if I hold up Fauci and the crazy sister in Texas, I'm probably not going to listen to the crazy sister in Texas who says there is demon sperm. Rob, go ahead. Rob, go ahead. Rob, go ahead. Rob is talking.
Not much of a different opinion when it comes to this. There are things that we know, and unfortunately, the right has become an exercise in stupidity. Like, who can be dumbest the fastest? We're arguing science. We're arguing that.
Rob is talking. Rob is talking. Finish your point, then I'll go to another guest. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're arguing if the Earth spins. We're arguing if the Earth is flat. Like they're arguing facts. It's not about saying, Dr. Fauci is the end-all be-all. Dr. Fauci is talking about how science works, and what Republicans are trying to do is pretend like, just like you do with climate change, like, oh, that doesn't exist and that's just made up. No, these are facts. Like 99% of doctors agree, and people that are looking at the facts and reasoning, not trying to make a president look not bad because he's a fool. And because Dr. Fauci is doing his job and you have an incompetent White House, these people are doing everything possible to deflect and blame things on Dr. Fauci because you have an incompetent person in the White House. Like, we need to just follow science. We could have saved a lot more people had we not followed science.
One second, I'm bringing Lauren in. Lauren, this is the thing. Lauren, this is the thing for me that is quite interesting. So when you hear Fauci talk about controlled, when you hear him talk about placebo, he's talking about how doctors and scientists actually properly assess drugs. He's laying out protocol. Excuse me, the member of Congress, Lauren, he's like, yeah, but it's peer review. He's like, yeah, but they didn't follow the traditional protocols that you go through. Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, so last I checked, Anthony Fauci is an immunologist. He's a doctor, went to medical school. Last I checked, Jim Jordan's a wrestling coach. Now, if you want to argue whether or not today is Friday, that's fine. You want to argue whether or not today is, the day in July, that's fine. But if we stick to facts, I think I'm going to trust a doctor that has like a medical degree before any of these members of Congress, to the exclusion of some of the doctors in Congress who are very smart. But, we've watched Rand Paul, who's a physician as well, ask some of the dumbest questions of Anthony Fauci in committee. I mean, at some point, you have to get serious when, like I said, 150,000 people are dead. This is not a situation, this is an unprecedented situation with people dying by the tens of thousands. And we've got members of Congress that want to play games in a hearing with the top physician on this issue so that they can make a little video for themselves to turn on their base for the election. Like I said, it's shameful, it's embarrassing, and I think that the Republican Party is going to pay a huge price this November. And that's why you see things like the Lincoln Project, because half the party has figured out we can't continue to be this stupid in public. And hopefully that bears some fruit on Election Day. This is why you got the president trying to steal the election with his nonsense, because he knows it's coming. And all the polls and all the indicators indicate that, in fact, we are going to have a realignment in November.
All right, so I do want, I'm gonna let Derek respond. I want to play this soundbite from Congressman Jim Clyburn from today's hearing before I do so. Go.
Can you help us understand why? While Europe has largely contained the virus, the United States has seen a continued rise in new cases.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The answer to that question is really somewhat complex, but I'll try maybe to very briefly go through what I believe are at least some of the factors that were involved. If you look at what happened in Europe when they shut down or locked down or went to shelter in place, however you want to describe it, they really did it to the tune of about 95+% of the country did that. When you actually look at what we did, even though we shut down, even though it created a great deal of difficulty, we really functionally shut down only about 50% in the sense of the totality of the country, which means when we reached our peak, as they did, they came down almost to a low baseline, as you've shown very clearly. But take a look at what happened to our baseline. We came up, down, and then we plateaued at about 20,000 cases a day. So we started off with a very difficult baseline of transmission that was going on at the time that we tried to open up the country. And when we opened up the country, what we saw, particularly most recently in the southern states, was an increase of cases to 20, 30, 40, 50, and a couple of weeks ago it was up to 70,000 per day, and now it's down between 50 and 60. And the reasons for that are complex. There were some states that did it very well, and there are some states that did not. And when I say did not, I mean, we put out, as Ranking Member Scalise mentioned, the guidelines of a gateway, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Some were followed very carefully and some were not.
Derek, the reason I thought that was important because every time we hear Donald Trump talk, he's like, oh, we're doing great. We're doing great, but way better than Europe. Oh, we have tested more. We're doing more. So why are we still seeing 60 and 70,000 cases? That's leadership. That's leadership. That's leadership. And unfortunately, because you asked earlier, why is this political? Because part of the problem is that where we're seeing the skyrocketing cases in states led by Republican governors who are refusing to listen to the doctors.
I don't know if that's the case in every state, Roland. Different. Look, they laid it out. Initially, the states were like, oh, we don't want the federal government involved. We want to do it ourselves. So it's like, okay, we'll come up with a plan.
Actually, that's not what the states
do. I'll never get to finish my statement.
But that's a factually incorrect statement.
What is incorrect?
The states actually said we're looking for the federal government to lead, and then when Donald Trump said, hey, this y'all problem, they were like, well, damn, we got to figure this amongst ourselves. That's actually what happened.
So the states are rolled out the plan, Roland. Did they not?
No.
Did the states roll out the plan?
No, the states. No. The states said, federal government, where is the national plan? Donald Trump was like, yo, this on y'all. And the states then, different states and regions got together and said, since he is not going to lead, we have.
Listen to you.
No. But you said, they then said, we.
Listen to you, bro.
No, you just said something that's just factually incorrect. You said the states rolled their plan out. The states rolled their plan out after the federal government refused to implement a national plan. They had no choice. And the problem was, it wasn't all states. Most of your southern states were like, nope, no to mask mandates. Nope, we're not going to shut everything down. Nope, we're not going to do widespread testing because they were all following Donald Trump's lead.
Correct.
So what happened? In May.
Here's my thing. If y'all have all the answers, let me put you in contact with some folks. Because y'all have all the answers.
No.
And if y'all have all the answers, y'all been keeping them to yourself.
No, actually.
Let me put you in contact with some folks.
Actually, the people you want to put us in.
Y'all got all the answers.
Actually,
these people don't know what they're doing.
the people you want to put us in contact with ain't listening to their own experts.
Listen,
I'm trying to put you in contact because y'all got all the answers.
Doesn't know what Governor DeSantis doesn't know what he's doing.
All the answers.
Hold on. Derek, in May, In May, Ron DeSantis stood in front of the media outside of the White House with Vice President Mike Pence and wagged his finger, and y'all said we were going to see spikes. And y'all said we were going to see deaths. And he was going on and on and on. He said, we haven't seen none of that. Y'all owe me an apology. 4 weeks later, spikes, deaths, skyrocketing. And then it was
let me throw out a date. In January, the president shut down travel from Europe.
Actually, he didn't.
Joe Biden said he was a xenophobe for doing that. Remember that? Nancy Pelosi said, come on down to China.
No, Derek. Let me also give you a fact. Donald Trump gave an interview. No. Derek, let me help you. Donald Trump gave an interview on CNBC. He said there's one person from China with it in America. A week later, he said, a week later, Donald Trump said, we have 15 cases in America. We'll soon be down to 0. That actually came out of his mouth. Right now, Derek, we have 152,000 dead.
Okay.
Well, it's
there. Y'all got all the answers.
Rob, go ahead.
Hold on a second, Derek. We're not saying we have all the answers. We can just tell, we know it's Friday. We know it's Friday. We know some certain facts. And, no matter how much you might want to defend somebody because they're from your party, this guy is not doing a good job.
I'm not defending anyone, Ron.
Hold on.
I'm not defending anyone.
Hold on. Relax. All I'm saying is Trump. Wait a minute. Trump has done not only a bad job, he's done a horrible job. He's both incompetent and corrupt. And now he's put people's lives at risk just because he wanted to prove a political point. Honestly, had he been a normal president, he probably would have had a chance to pivot from this and show some leadership. A normal president would have taken the reins, would have said, this is our national response. He refused to do that. And then you have governors like Governor DeSantis, which he said, we're going to be you guys were saying that we were going to have all these deaths, just like Roland said. They have surpassed New York, surpassed them. We have full leaders. We have the guy, the governor of Georgia, who is trying to get rid of mask mandates just to look good for Trump. That's stupid. That's not. And so I want to say this: we do have a Republican governor here in Ohio who has rejected what Trump has done. He's not been perfect, but he's tried to actually go for the evidence. Here in Ohio, he's done that.
Same as a Republican governor in Maryland, Larry Hogan, because you have.
So it's not Republican. It's common sense.
Right. But that's it. Right. In fact, the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, she said, no, we're going to have a mask mandate. We're going to close businesses down.
Y'all validated my point. Why is it got to be political? That's all I was saying.
Because most why? Because
why it got to be political every time it's somebody else's mouth?
Because most of the stupid people who are making decisions are Republicans.
And they put us in this position. Let me say this, because hey, Derek.
Rob, 20 seconds, next story, go.
I'll be very quick. Wearing a mask became political because Trump said, I'm not going to go out and wear a mask. And then suddenly he wears a mask and now it's saving people's lives. He should have done that from the beginning. It shouldn't be political. This is stupid.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Former National Security Advisor Ambassador Susan Rice believes that we are in the middle of two pandemics, coronavirus and racism. She also believes that both are national security threats. She joins us right now. Susan Rice, how you doing?
I'm great, Roland. How you doing?
Oh, you know, sitting here having to deal with stupid people who are 3 blocks away from my office, who reside in the White House, who say truly some of the dumbest stuff in the world. When you hear that nonsense, this refusal to condemn the Confederate flag and then say, oh, the people who are flying it, they aren't thinking about slavery. This is no big deal. It's freedom of speech. And if they want to fly it, you know, at my rallies, okay, whatever. Donald Trump is absolutely, Ambassador, appealing to the most hardcore racist or folks in pushing those buttons. Agree or disagree?
Absolutely agree. I mean, the dog whistle has become a bullhorn. And the blower of that bullhorn is the modern day George Wallace. And, you know, it's that bad. It really is. And, you know, we've got the president expressing much more concern for Confederate monuments and flags than he is for the lives of Americans, over 135,000 of whom have died on his watch because his utter failure to handle the coronavirus. So he's made clear what his priorities are and how he intends to run for re-election, which is by pouring salt in the racial wounds and trying to, you know, divide this country.
When you look at that decision made by the defense secretary, and then you hear the nonsense from Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State. I mean, this is the individual. I mean, it's two contrasts. Secretary of Defense says you can't fly the Confederate flag at military bases. It's just not allowed. Then you overhear Secretary Mike Pompeo just in denial about how this nation was created, as if somehow that we haven't been dealing with racism, slavery, Jim Crow, and still dealing with the vestiges of that. I mean, these are so-called leaders, and these are leaders for the rest of the world. As somebody who's been on an international stage, it has to absolutely drive you crazy to see that as the representation of the United States.
Well, it does rather pain me to see this, to say the least. But, you know, it's actually a really serious challenge because consistent with our values and our leadership in the world, you know, we should be condemning racism. We should be condemning anti-Semitism, homophobia, all of the ways in which discriminatory or autocratic societies abuse the rights of their people. And rather than speaking up and speaking up with moral authority, we're modeling much of that behavior here at home. And at the same time, drastically diminishing our global leadership and our ability to bring other countries and peoples to join with us to deal with challenges that affect our security and our prosperity and well-being. So it's not just about, you know, Secretary Pompeo being insensitive, even though, to put it politely, he is. It's about squandering our leadership in the role and undermining our national security as a consequence.
And when we talk about that, I mean, now again, after 8 years of President Barack Obama, not only, obviously being the first black president in American history, and that type of diplomacy, to see this, for lack of a better phrase, this thuggish foreign policy, this grotesque display that we see across the world, what are you hearing from foreign leaders who you still talk with? How are they looking at us? I mean, how are they viewing this country in this moment of an international pandemic and global financial issues, and you're still dealing with wars and things along those lines? What are they saying about us?
Well, Roland, they're looking at us with dismay and disbelief. They can't believe how far we've fallen so fast. And the coronavirus, which, you know, in normal times, the expectation would be that America would be doing among the best in the world in confronting a pandemic and being of assistance to other countries that have less, that are wrestling with far less developed healthcare systems and structures. Being a leader in stamping out the pandemic around the world, as we tried to do, for example, in 2014, a different scenario, but with the Ebola epidemic. That is our traditional role, rallying the world to deal with a problem effectively and not letting it get out of control here at home. In this instance, under President Trump, we've done absolutely the opposite. We've withdrawn from the global stage. We've taken our marbles and gone home from the World Health Organization, precisely the instrument that is needed to help coordinate assistance to the world's most needy countries. And we have utterly failed and set the worst possible example for how to deal with this virus here at home. The highest infection rates, the largest numbers of deaths, and it's due to incompetence, dishonesty, a failure to follow the science, and increasingly willful neglect. I mean, when the president is telling students and our children and their teachers and the staff of schools that he doesn't care about their health, he cares about his reelection, and he views all of this through a political prism, that's when you know that we're in deep, deep trouble. And we truly are. And the world can see that. And they are just hoping that we have the sense to bring sanity back to the White House in 2021.
Your book is called Tough Love. Here we go, show it. Tough Love, My Story of the Things Worth Fighting For. If you were sitting in front of a group of red hat wearing MAGA people, what tough love would you give them to say why they should not vote for this man again to be given 4 more years?
Well, look, we need leadership that recognizes fundamentally that at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And we sink or swim in this country between our shores together. Right now, we're sinking, but we don't have to allow that to be the case. Americans of every political persuasion are dying. Americans of every political persuasion are losing their jobs. And what we need is leadership that puts the national interest and the interest of Americans first, regardless of where they live, regardless of how they vote, regardless of what they look like or who they worship or who they love. And we're not getting that right now. We're getting leadership that is choosing to put political self-interest above the livelihoods of all people, regardless of their political background. You know, the president goes to Oklahoma, the heart of red America, and holds a rally without social distancing, knowing that the consequence is going to be death. Now the governor of Oklahoma has COVID, and the rate of infection has spiked in the weeks since the president was there. So how is that helping anybody? And everybody with any sense understands that as long as the infections are raging, we can't sustainably reopen our economy. We can't put people back to work, which is what we all want to do. We all want to send our kids back to school. That's not a red issue or a blue issue. We're Americans. We want to educate our kids. We want them to be safe and have the opportunity to learn. And yet, because of this president who puts himself above everything else, that's not being, it's not been possible. And he's going out of his way to rush through, deny the severity of the disease, pressure school districts, and pressure politicians to follow his deadly lead. And we cannot afford that. None of us can.
When we think about America standing internationally, the world has always looked to this nation to be a moral leader. Not always been the case. We've been that. Let's say Trump loses in November. What's the first thing that a Joe Biden administration has to do to let the world know that that's now in our past and this is what we have to do moving forward?
Well, Roland, let me answer that, but let me just put the answer in context. I think Americans need to understand that it's not a matter of simply flipping a switch and everything goes, back to a place where our leadership is immediately embraced and all is forgotten. A huge amount of damage has been done. Mm-hmm. Trust has been broken. People can no longer believe the word of the President of the United States on matters large and small. Everything is a transaction. Our allies are treated like adversaries. Our adversaries are embraced like, family members. It's absolutely upside down. And so as Americans, we need to understand that the first thing we must do is vote for change. And voting for Joe Biden, who has enormous experience, great relationships, the trust and the confidence of the most important partners we have on the global stage, is a critical and absolutely necessary first step. But we will have great work to do over the course of a next administration. And it's not going to all be done in 4 years, maybe not even in 8 years, because Roland, understand that these very countries, particularly our closest partners, our allies in Europe, in Asia, and elsewhere, no longer can be confident that what we just did over the last 4 years can't possibly happen again. They have to fear that, that it's conceivable that we could come back to a place like this. So their trust will come back, but it will come back slowly, and it will need to be rebuilt with tangible action. So the first thing that Joe Biden should do as he enters the White House, knock on wood, in January 2021, is to reach out to our closest allies and neighbors, Canada, Mexico, our European partners, our partners in Asia, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and say to them, look, we understand that what has transpired has not been helpful. It hasn't been a partnership based on mutual interest and shared values and mutual respect. It's been bullying and transactional and based on falsehood. That is all going to change. We are back. We honor our alliance commitments. We understand that this is not a protection racket and it's not solely about dollars and cents. It's about our mutual interests and our shared security. And we will be here with you. And then we're going to have to take steps, concrete steps, that demonstrate that commitment. So, for example, we pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement unilaterally after we had negotiated it. We have to go back. We pulled out of various other important agreements like the Iran deal. We have to take a new look at that. But most importantly, we need to be clear with our allies that at the end of the day, they are what matters most to us, because our strength in the world is a function of those alliance relationships. And so, President Trump recently said we're pulling a third of our forces out of Germany unilaterally without ever consulting with the German government. Reversing that step and many others like it is the kind of concrete thing Joe Biden will need to do on day one. Rejoining the World Health Organization, as he said he'll do on day one. That's the sort of thing that signals that we are really back and we mean it.
In your book, Tough Love, Henry, go to my iPad, you write about that last day as National Security Advisor. You lay out the things that you had to deal with. And one of the things you said, I have had to spend many hours on additional tasks briefing my successor as National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. That case is completely unraveled. You see what the Attorney General, William Barr, did. And as somebody who served in that position, as somebody who was ambassador to the United Nations, to watch that and then watch how the DOJ operated and watch how Donald Trump celebrated that and then say, oh, sure, I would hire this person again. I mean, you write about these are positions of public trust. The public has to trust people like you, that you will do things in the best interest of the nation and not personally.
Of course. And, I don't want to get into the specifics of Michael Flynn and his circumstances, but the bottom line is that we need the best and the most committed people of integrity and experience in these critical roles. And that is something that I can promise you Joe Biden will bring. He will bring those that care deeply about this country, who are not in it for personal, financial, or other form of gain, that are there to do the job that the American people trust and expect them to do. And we've time and again seen too often in the Trump administration people signing up for who aren't qualified, who don't deserve the public trust, and who fail to deliver, and whose only motivation is to be acolytes to Donald Trump as he destroys the fabric of our democracy and the integrity of our government. And so that urgently needs to change.
You also talked about that last day writing a particular memo that has been the subject of lots of conversation, assessing Russian activities and intentions in recent U.S. elections. We have less than 120 days. Are you still concerned that Russia will try to impact this election? And does it bother you that pretty much our nation, in terms of leaders, Mitch McConnell didn't move on a particular bill to fortify the elections? Trump doesn't care that even with all this evidence, their whole deal is like, we're fine, we're good.
Yes, Roland, I'm deeply worried about it. Russia has not stopped for a minute trying to undermine and weaken our democracy. It interfered to assist Donald Trump in 2016, but it has been active every day since that election, including in the 2000. But just on every average day, trying to deepen the divisions that exist in American society and pit Americans against each other, causing us to distrust and hate each other and not believe in the integrity of our democratic institutions. The Russian objective is to discredit democracy and weaken the United States. And it can accomplish that goal if it gets on the internet, as it does every day, and argues on every side of every divisive issue, whether it's race or guns or immigration or gay rights, and they're out there spinning truths and falsehoods to divide us. And that is a very serious threat, and that will translate into the same kinds of misinformation, suppression of voter interest, and selling of lies and discredited theories that they did in 2016. I fully expect that in this year, in 2020, and Americans need to be prepared. And yes, it's a travesty that Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans refuse to enact legislation that's been sitting on their floor for months to shore up the integrity of our elections and make it much more difficult for Russia or any other foreign player to do what it seeks to do. They won't provide the funding. They won't pass the legislation that would protect our elections. And the only explanation that one rationally can come up with is because they are prepared to welcome that assistance from Russia and other adversaries as long as they feel it's beneficial to them. Again.
A couple of questions about Africa. Here we are dealing with 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies are African nations. Look at the population growth from the motherland as well. China, significant investment in African nations. Has this nation dropped the ball in terms of not recognizing what that future could look like? Have we done enough to stand with African nations to help them economically, to work with them? Can we do more?
Yes, we absolutely can do more, and we should do more. And Roland, we should view this opportunity to be better partners with Africa as not a matter of charity or humanitarian assistance, even though there's good motive in doing that. It's in our national interests to have partners in Africa that are growing, that are prospering, that are providing greater freedoms and greater benefits to their peoples. Africa is a vast continent of enormous talent, extraordinary resources, and great potential. And if we are absent or disinterested or under-resourced in our efforts to engage in Africa, we are missing an opportunity. We're missing economic opportunities, we're missing market opportunities, but most importantly, we're missing an opportunity to grow with the talent and the potential of an extraordinary collection of peoples on that continent. And, there's much we should be doing. We should be promoting peace and conflict resolution. We should be shoring up democracy and respect for human rights. We should be opening our markets further to African goods and spurring investment from the United States in Africa, providing more in the way of political risk insurance. We do some of these things, more or less, depending on the administration. We should be, investing in bringing electrification to parts of Africa, training and supporting the development of youth and talent and education, agricultural resources, health, and trying to improve healthcare infrastructure in Africa, all of these things. And yet, in recent years in particular, I think much of our engagement with Africa has been viewed primarily through the prism of competition with China, which is necessary but far from sufficient. And as a result, we have really scaled back our vision and our ambition for what the U.S.-Africa relationship can be.
You are on Vice President Biden's shortlist to be his VP nominee. Most of the folks, obviously, who are being considered are not necessarily talking about it. Our audience, mostly African Americans, got a lot of white fans as well, so we certainly appreciate that. What would you say to Black America if Susan Rice becomes the nominee? What would you say why that matters and what you bring that's important?
Well, Roland, first of all, I have to say it is really humbling and an honor to be among those reportedly being considered for the vice presidency by Joe Biden. And he has an extraordinary list of women, any of whom I think would do a great job in that role. And I think it's going to be very hard for him to go wrong. So everybody brings a different set of skills, experiences, and talents, and they're all exceptional. My experience and what I would bring to a partnership with Joe Biden on behalf of the country is my years of experience at senior levels in the executive branch. For over 15 years, on almost 2 decades, I've worked in the White House and in the State Department and at the United Nations in the top tiers of our federal government. And when I was National Security Advisor, I was responsible for chairing and coordinating the cabinet level committee of agencies that had to deal with every crisis that fell on our plate, whether it was the rise of ISIS or the Ebola epidemic and everything in between. So what I know is how to make decisions to forge policy out of different agencies with different budgets and different interests and constraints, how to get stuff done. And in a moment when the next president will inherit, assuming it's Joe Biden, a pandemic, an economic recession, a racial justice movement that needs to be fulfilled, and as we've discussed, our plummeting leadership role in the world, the need to have the government firing on all cylinders and being able to address those multiple simultaneous challenges is greater than ever. So my experience is in getting things done at the highest levels of government. I understand national security, foreign policy, diplomacy, obviously intimately, but I also understand many of the domestic issues that will inevitably arise. And I would be honored to be able to assist Joe Biden in whatever capacity he thinks that I can best serve.
You mentioned
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you mentioned the issue of racial justice. That is going to be a significant domestic agenda.
Absolutely.
I have argued that in this moment of the reckoning, we're really operating in what I call the third Reconstruction. And so we're seeing these changes. We're seeing, I mean, it's been 9 weeks since the death of George Floyd, and we've seen significant amounts of change. But really, to deal with the inequality in this country, it is going to take massive reinvestment by this country. A massive plan, some call, an urban Marshall Plan, if you will, to deal with these difficult challenges. Have you thought about that and how major that needs to be, and to keep people focused on that? The first Reconstruction lasted 12 years. The second one lasted 14 years. I mean, this is something that's not going to just one bill, here you go, we're good. There's going to have to be a real commitment, or Dr. King wrote in Chaos of Community, Where Do We Go From Here? He said, it's a check America's going to have to write that it has never really wanted to write before.
Well, Roland, I've thought a lot about it, as many of us have. And, to me, we've had this extraordinary movement following the tragic murder of George Floyd. And thus far, that movement has really resulted concretely only in some flags and some statues being retired. And that's not nearly enough. That is, in my judgment, a missing of this moment. As gratifying as it may be to see the Confederate flag come down from the State House in Mississippi or from NASCAR, that's not what this is about. Systemic racism, in my judgment, requires systemic reform. And whether you call it a third Reconstruction or a New Deal or whatever the terminology you prefer, to me, we need a president like Joe Biden in the White House with the commitment and the vision and the passion to address these systemic requirements. And we need change in the Senate and sustaining the House, because without all three, we're not going to get this done. Look at the Justice in Policing Act, the George Floyd Act, good piece of legislation passed by the House. Do you think Mitch McConnell's going to let that thing go anywhere in any recognizable form in the Senate? No. And there's nothing radical or ridiculous or, even aggressive in that legislation. So that's emblematic of the problem. And to address this moment with a movement worthy of it and results that reflect that movement, we're going to need a sustained package of legislation that deals with all of the inequities, from the lack of jobs and economic opportunity, to healthcare, to education, to housing, to the environments that we live in that are killing us. All of these things are going to have to come together. And we need to implement them in a way that recognizes that they are born of historic and systemic inequality and racism, but that also brings along all Americans, because it's not only us as much as this moment has been about African Americans. We also have to be mindful of how systematic reform can lift up all of us and reduce the disparities that have become so glaring in our society.
Folks, Susan Rice, the book is called Tough Love, My Story of the Things Worth Fighting For. Glad to have you on the show. Look forward to you coming back.
Great to be with you, Roland. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care. All right, folks, Seat.com. These headphones here, these 360-degree 4D headphones. Mary Spio, she is the founder and the creator, the inventor of this. You can get these, folks, the 360-degree 4D headphones, good for listening to music, videos, gaming, you name it. All you got to do is go to Seat.com. There's a promo code you can use, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020 for you to get this. Also the VR headset, so you can check out the products there on Seat.com. And so check it out. And so we certainly appreciate them partnering with us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is prohibiting cities across the state from requiring masks to be worn in public to alleviate the spread of the coronavirus. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Okay, I thought Republicans believed in local control. This executive order literally prevents local governments from enforcing mandatory face covering orders. Now, instead of imposing a mandatory requirement, Kemp's order states that residents and visitors in the state are, quote, strongly encouraged to wear face coverings as practicable when in public, except when eating, drinking, or exercising outdoors. Yet the head of the CDC, which is located in Georgia, has said if we can get all Americans to wear masks, we could have this under control in the next 2 months. Savannah Mayor Van Johnson joins me right now. Mayor, this is stupid. How here you are, the mayor of a city trying to protect residents, and the governor says, oh, the hell with that. I'm going to supersede what you have ordered, and I'm going to strongly encourage them to wear masks. This is absolutely dumb.
You've said everything that I've been thinking, everything I've been saying, and I go a step further. Now he's suing the mayor of Atlanta for her stand on trying to take care of the people of Atlanta.
He's suing her?
He's
suing her?
Oh, yeah. Breaking news. The fact of the matter is this, is that we've been trying in Georgia to do the very best we can to be able to protect our folks. We know that this has affected people across the board, but some people it affects more. And certainly those that are black and brown are bothered more, and they're handled differently than everyone else. Cities like Savannah, Atlanta, Augusta, Athens, we put in mask ordinances to be able to protect our people. The science has been very, very clear. We know that masks, we know the social distancing, and we know that washing hands helps stop the spread of this virus. So you have Florida, which is about 120 miles from us. Again, that's the hotspot of the nation. Alabama has now required masks. And then South Carolina, to our north, allows local municipalities to decide. And then here in Georgia, not only we don't have the right to decide, we have our governor to specifically say that cities and counties who are the closest to the people cannot decide for ourselves. We've been fighting coronavirus with one hand, and we've been fighting our own state with the other. I don't get
these people these idiots who are running around saying masks don't work. They absolutely work. Yeah, oh, freedom. Well, guess what? You got the freedom to die as well.
That's right. And I have the freedom to live. And we know that actually wearing masks promotes freedom. As an alternative to cities closing down, businesses closing down, masks allow people to go to and fro, go into the businesses they love and enjoy, and be able to enjoy themselves in the midst of what we're going through. To just think that we don't have masks. And again, the federal government has been very clear throughout. The CDC, which is in Atlanta, has recommended that mask wearing is certainly the way to go, except in Georgia.
Erica, you're a native of Georgia. This is the most idiotic thing. This happened in Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott overruled Judge Eric Moyer, who was going to send his white woman to jail because she didn't want to close her store, her hair shop. And then he's like, no, this is unfair. Fox News lauded Greg Abbott in Texas. Now he's talking about they might have to shut the entire state down.
That's correct.
And now he's saying, oh, by the way, y'all need to wear masks. Erica, this what Kemp is doing. Brian Kemp is trying to kill people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the GOP is a death cult. That was something that was on Twitter very, very recently. And just to really kind of confirm that this really is about not securing the safety of Black and brown folks, since we are the lion's share that's disproportionately impacted by COVID. Looking at Georgia, which was one of the first states to rescind those stay-at-home orders and open up businesses, and I believe it was as early as April, but
April
still, on the heels of what the mayor just shared with us in Savannah, that this governor is suing a mayor who has COVID-19. She and her family are recovering from that, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. He's doing that while the governor's mansion is still closed for public tours. So when you square that and you try to make it make sense, what you understand is that this person who was effective at ensuring that data from voter base from the time that he was Secretary of State was definitely released, that he definitely ensured that people were disengaged by actively suppressing the vote from his time in office as Secretary of State, and that he essentially stole that seat. I still refer to him as the former Secretary of State. He's not the legal governor. This is more par for the course. And so my question, Mayor, would be to you is that how are you directing folks in the beautiful city of Savannah to really be about what Roland just pointed out, the business of wearing masks, which health experts have said does reduce coronavirus transmission in upwards 40–50%.
Well, as for me in my house, as for me in the city of Savannah, Georgia, our mask, our emergency declaration is in play. It remains in place. Nothing has changed here. We are dedicated. We're hell-bent, if you will, to make sure that we're protecting our citizens and over the 15 million visitors that visit us every year. It makes no sense for us to be fighting our government in a time we should all be fighting together. And so we're going to make sure we stay on this fight. And we want people to support those in Georgia, support your cities, support your mayors. This might get a little ugly, but in the end, we have to be about the lives of people. And we know that strong people build strong businesses.
All right.
Which builds us.
Mayor Johnson, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. All right, folks, Seat.com. These headphones here, these 360-degree 4D headphones. Mary Spio, she is the founder and the creator, the inventor of this. You can get these, folks, the 360-degree 4D headphones, good for listening to music, videos, gaming, you name it. All you got to do is go to Seat.com. There's a promo code you can use, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020 for you to get this. Also the VR headset, so you can check out the products there on Seat.com. And so check it out. And so we certainly appreciate them partnering with us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, as of today, there are 3.97 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the United States. 1.6 million people have recovered and 144,000 have died. As the nations grapple with how to slow the spread, scientists work frantically to find a vaccine. Today, the United States announced they are giving $1.95 billion to two companies for the purchase of 100 million vaccines. Joining us right now is Dr. Joseph L. Graves, Jr., Professor of Biological Sciences at North Carolina A&T University. Doc, glad to have you back on the show. What do you make of these companies saying they are seeing promising results of these vaccines and could have something by the end of the year? Do you believe it?
Yeah, I believe it. And I think it's good news. There have been some new techniques applied to the development of these vaccines. So I believe that we're going to have them. The problem, however, is the 100 million doses. Because, as you know, we have a population of 330 million people. So 100 million doses are going to have to be administered as quickly as possible, and people are going to need to take the vaccine for us to begin to get a handle on reducing the transmission of COVID 2019. And at this point, there's no guarantee how that's going to happen.
And part of the issue when you talk about even that vaccine is then getting people to actually take it. And you got people out there, you got black people who are saying, man, I ain't trusting this whole thing. You got Tuskegee, you got all these white anti-vaxxers out there as well. And so that presents a huge problem. Hell, you got people right now who won't even put a damn mask on.
I mean, I don't know what to say, because I remember having this conversation with you back in early March and making these dire predictions of what would happen if people didn't change their behavior. And so now we're beginning to see this. And of course, the situation is made worse when the chief executive officer of the United States had no plan and certainly no intention of taking the actions necessary to try to stop the spread of this pandemic. The fact that he was more concerned with making himself look good for re-election, which of course he has failed to do because he hasn't effectively handled this pandemic, rather than listening to scientific experts and following and allowing them to develop a plan, has left us in the situation we're in today.
So, in terms of where we go next, again, when it comes to these vaccines, when you hear Dr. Fauci, the head of CDC, says if we can get people in this country to shelter in place, put on masks, that we can truly get this under control in the next 1 to 2 months. Is that real? Is that legitimate?
Yeah, I believe that, and then the key thing again is people changing their behavior. And it's not just wearing a mask, but wearing a mask properly and maintaining social distance. One of the things that people need to understand is that even if you wear a mask, well, it cuts down the probability of spreading the infection by 80%. That effect only lasts about 5 minutes. And that is, if you're with someone else who's wearing a mask, it lasts for 5 minutes. So the key thing then again is if you're wearing a mask, you still have to understand that you can still transmit this virus, even if you're asymptomatic. So you have to avoid large groups of people. You have to maintain your physical distance, and you really should only be going out if you have to. And of course, the difficulty is that for many lower income poor people, and particularly African Americans and Latinos, those people have to go out and they have to work because the federal government hasn't acted to provide the supports in terms of, food and shelter that people need when, in fact, they're being asked to shelter in place.
You have the D.C. mayor who moments ago ordered requiring masks outside the home. Then, of course, you got Governor Brian Kemp, who's pissed off, and he wants to overrule all the mayors in Georgia who are trying to do the exact same thing. And so here you have mayors who are trying to be responsible. That's what happened in Texas. Mayor Sylvester Turner, Harris County Judge Hidalgo, they had mask mandates. Well, idiot Governor Greg Abbott overrules them. Then all of a sudden cases explode in Texas. And then he goes, we might need to have a mask mandate. We were trying to tell you that, dumbass.
Again, I hate it when I'm right, Roland. This is something, and I'm of the mind that these people need to be held accountable, because the science around mask wearing and simple means to prevent the spread of the coronavirus were well known. So none of this was a mystery to them, but yet they insisted on taking actions prematurely to try to, quote, reopen the economy. And again, I understand the need for people to work and to have a paycheck. So I'm not saying that there's not a concern there. But if you're talking about the difference between people dying and not being able to work, then I think we want to try to keep people alive. And that's what these people fail to understand.
All right. Dr. Joseph Graves, Jr., Professor, Biological Studies, Sciences at North Carolina A&T. Was really appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
I don't know what it's going to take, Robert, to get these idiots to actually do what's right. I just really don't. I think, I'm telling you right now, listen up, black people, and my white fans who are watching as well. Okay? Right now in the Bahamas, they ain't accepting nobody from the United States. Mexico, nope, y'all can't come here. Europe, y'all can't come here. Okay? Donald Trump talks about a wall. The whole world is putting basically a blockade on the United States because we got too many stuck on stupid people in this country who don't know how to keep their asses at home, who don't know how to put on masks, don't know how to wash their hands and protect themselves. Here we are, Teresa, 5 months. 5 months after this thing really began to pick up steam, and we're still dealing with folks who just want to run their ass out there and go to restaurants and bars and be on the beach and swim as if the Spanish flu wasn't real. 500 million people were infected with the Spanish flu from 1918 to 1920. An estimated 17 to 50 million died. These fools act like that can't happen again. But we got 144,000 Americans who've already died.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we got the archives to prove it because, Spanish flu allegedly, started here in Philadelphia. So, it's bad. We can buy, and, I keep going into supermarkets and CVS pharmacies and other small little bodegas, and I'm seeing the shelves empty of Clorox, hand sanitizer, soap in itself, and yet it's like, okay, well, that's enough. And so, when we start reopening, and legislators are saying, hey, we're into these phases where it is time to reopen, we have to really start thinking about a conscious understanding of what the environment actually looks like. One, it's summer, right? So people are looking for, that freedom during their summertime break. But part of it is we have to be very aware that this is a pandemic under new leadership that doesn't seem like leadership really has this under control. So really the escalation on the trend of this pandemic has, with after 5 months has been trending in the direction that we don't want it to trend in. So, it's interesting, when I saw some of the conversations that governors were having on TV, it was more so about we're going to reopen and we're not going to put any mandates on masks. We're just going to allow people to do what they know is best to do. And that's just not right. I mean, we have people who really just have a disregard for this pandemic and a disregard for their fellow neighbor. And so I live in an apartment complex. And so, even when we're going in the elevator, they're still doing 4 or 5 or more, and so it's issues like this when it's like, we can put in as many PSAs, we can educate the public about the seriousness of this, especially when we don't have the vaccine for it yet. But I think it really is a encompass of, the governors in order to really put a strict mandate that no person should be going to any establishment without a mask. Point, place, and period. And what has to happen, Scott, this has to be rigid. It has to be, and right, put up some new signs. No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. And if you stay your dumb ass out there yelling and screaming, trying to cuss personnel out, lock the damn door and stand there and yell. But the problem is you cannot change this when you've got these Republican governors who are, this is impacting our freedom. No, no, this shouldn't happen. And this also comes down to money. And this whole deal is, if you want to understand America, everything comes down to money. Oh, we can't do this. Right. This is going to kill the businesses. No, what's going to kill the businesses are a bunch of dead people who can no longer come to your business.
Yeah. Roland, I'm starting to think that this is not fixable the way we're doing it, that it's too inconsistent with groups of people in different states. You have a lot of people who are honoring all of the rules, if you will. They're doing their masks, they're washing their hands, they're staying home. But you have a whole nother group of people who are undermining that by doing just the opposite. That's why the numbers keep going up and down. And so I'm starting to think maybe until we get a vaccine, we're just going to be in this altered state, if you will, that sometimes you think you can go out, you can't, you're going to have these fluctuating numbers, or We need to be thinking about a different approach. I've never been a big fan of what they call hoarding, if you will, or whatever they call that.
Herding
mentality. Hoarding. Herding. I've never been a big fan of that because I think there are too many people, as I understand the concept, too many people in America to be able to do that effectively. But I got to tell you, I don't need President Trump to agree with me to know I'm right, that this isn't working, because it's just too inconsistent. And if there's another way to do this until we can get a vaccine, or we just hunker down until we get a vaccine, that's just kind of what the facts are telling us right now. Because I hear you every week. Every week you say the same thing over and over again, Roland. And I mean, and because it's true.
Because here's the deal. Because if these fools don't want to listen,
that's right.
I'm going to tell y'all, Robert, if the rest of these folk want to kill themselves, that's cool. But also, stop having these stop having these get-togethers. I know somebody had a get-together, 10 people over the house, and they said, and I think, well, no, they were inside.
Oh, inside.
Oh, you know, we know one of the folks had it before.
No.
We were still fine. We were all wearing masks, but you know what happens? Folks pull and take the mask off. They ain't wearing the whole
drink
time.
with that mask.
And guess what? His ass got coronavirus. He got it. Hey, Robert, can't nobody come to my house.
Well, Roland, I think part of the issue that we had is that from the beginning, we kept getting inconsistent information from leadership. There's this concept of medical martial law, which is the same way that in national security emergencies, the military takes over and runs the jurisdiction of the country, that we have to have the same for medical situations such as this. That because of the incorrect information that we got from leadership from the beginning, it'll be over by Easter. It'll magically disappear in April. The warm weather will just wash it away. 99.9% of the people will get better just automatically. We'll have a cure in a couple months. Take magical pills, drink bleach, UV light, all those things are why people do not understand exactly what the virus is. And when people don't get clear messaging and do not understand things, then they just go back to the status quo and do exactly what they feel like. You have a lot of people who don't understand that that when you're dealing with SARS-CoV-2, that it is a single strand of RNA inside of a lipid shell with a protein corona around it. When it gets into the lung system, it goes and attacks the alveoli first. And what makes it so insidious is that it slowly breaks its way into the alveoli. It basically hacks the system of your blood cells, infecting it and replacing sending its RNA, which then replicates, creating an inflammatory reaction called a cytokine storm. And that's normally what finally makes you sick and gets you into the hospital. The problem is that because that takes 2 weeks to sometimes more, you are walking around now expelling these RNA cells or these COVS2 cells into the air as you are moving. You're infecting other people. And that is what, if you just immediately fell into dust the minute you got it, then this would have been over in 2 weeks. But because it is so slowly interacting with individuals, because it so slowly infects them, and because the mortality rate is considered to be low, people think they can just walk around as normal and that nothing will happen to them. If we had consistent messaging from leadership and one consistent national policy, as we saw the EU do when they shut down the entire European continent, basically, as one nation, because remember, the EU is about the same size the United States of America has taken as a whole. The countries that did the full shutdown have now recovered and are doing well. Countries like Sweden, who tried to do herd immunity, are doing horribly. We have to follow the scientific information and not have this culture war around questions of, we're having a culture war about whether you should wear a mask or not. We're having a culture where there are COVID truthers out there who swear up and down that all these numbers are made up and inflated. You have people who are still pushing hydroxychloroquine as a cure when it's been debunked by literally every medical organization in the world. In order for this coronavirus truther conspiracy to actually be true, you would have to think that the EU, China, India, every major nation in the world, the NBA, NFL, every major corporation in the United States, every major medical organization known to mankind is all working together to conspire to stop Donald Trump from winning the re-election. That is what it takes for these conspiracy theories to be true, but you still have people pushing those, and that disinformation is what's hurting us. And
these Republican governors are so stupid, are so dumb. Brian Kemp, Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, that they are so hell-bent on not disagreeing with Donald Trump that they will literally kill people in their state because of their awful leadership. That is a fundamental problem.
All right, folks, back to our Mark unfiltered video in just one
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Because in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, what he did was he opened the state. They were touting this whole deal. Now he issues an order today ordering everyone to wear masks. See, now had he listened to the Latina, Hidalgo, who's the county judge in Houston, he overrode her. He overrode Sylvester Turner, the mayor in Houston as well. And so the shameful actions of these Republican governors in Arizona, in Texas, and other states, they are going to cause all that progress with the shutdown. They're about to wipe it all out because they were so stupid trying to reopen states.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then even when we look at, there was the principal deputy director at one of the hospitals in Houston put out a front page ad around people telling them not to celebrate this Freedom Holiday weekend in the way that they would normally do that. You're talking about not someone who's an executive leader, but you're talking about someone within the business community that also has executive leadership within a hospital. In Texas right now, you're talking about ICU numbers that exceed 100% capacity. I've also seen and read reporting where doctors are saying that, listen, we have folks that are young and that would otherwise be healthy that have been impacted by COVID, and that if they're not intubated, that they will die. And so the 18 to 29 group, the 30 to 45, the 46 on up, this novel coronavirus is not discriminating. And what people would normally do, a lot of people would normally be, myself included, at Essence Fest this week. This is not a moment to try to recreate what won't happen. What we do need to do is we need to wash our hands thoroughly throughout the day. We need to wear a damn mask, socially distance, and sit our asses down somewhere so that we can, as a society, get a better handle onto what the CDC's principal deputy director is calling the coronavirus, a stealthier virus than what they expected, and essentially being out of control because of society behavior.
Reese, go ahead.
Yeah, I think people have to understand that just because it's not round-the-clock coverage on CNN or some of these other news stations, screaming about how big of a crisis it is, it's an even bigger crisis than when we started the shutdown. Just look at what's happening. We have D.L. Hughley, who was asymptomatic. He made a video last night saying that he's infected his coworkers and his son because he didn't realize that he had the virus. Nobody was wearing masks.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, the folks at Seat.com have an incredible offer for you folks. And these are these 360-degree 4D headphones that you can use for music, you can Bluetooth, you can for gamers, all that sort of stuff. Mary Spiels, a sister, she's actually the inventor of these headphones. Phenomenal. I love the sound of these. They also have the virtual reality headsets, which allow for you to actually watch VR virtual reality videos, 360-degree videos. You just simply pop your phone right into here. And then, of course, if you you can also go like YouTube has an app as well. that has a channel that deals with a lot of those VR ads. And so you can actually do all of that, folks. Check this out and pop it on. And guess what? Check out your virtual reality videos. Go to Seek.com, 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 Seek.com. Use this promo code right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020, for a discount on these headphones. And then, of course, when you support them, you support this show, Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks. Today, for the first time in 2 months, Dr. Fauci reappears, as well as Dr. Birx talking about coronavirus. Why? Because we're seeing a spike in the country. This is Dr. Fauci today speaking before the cameras.
Such an unusual situation because of all of the decades that I've been involved in chasing infectious diseases. I've never seen anything that is so protean in its ability to make people sick or not. There's no other infectious disease that goes from 40% of the people having no symptoms to some having mild symptoms, to some having severe, some requiring staying at home for weeks, some going to the hospital, some getting intensive care, some getting intubated, some getting ventilated, and some dying. So that depending on where you are in that spectrum, you have a different attitude to this particular thing. But anyone who gets infected or is at risk of getting infected, to a greater or less degree, is part of the dynamic process of the outbreak. And I know because I can understand when I was at a stage in my life when I said, well, I'm invulnerable, so I'm going to take a risk. I think what we're missing in this is something that we've never faced before, is that a risk for you is not just isolated to you. Because if you get infected, you are part, innocently or inadvertently, of propagating the dynamic process of a pandemic. Because the chances are that if you get infected, that you're going to infect someone else. And although you may feel well, and because we know, if you look at the numbers that you'll probably hear later on, the overwhelming majority now of people getting infected are young people, likely the people that you see in the clips and in the paper who are out in crowds enjoying themselves, understandably. No blame there, understandably. But the thing that you really need to realize that when you do that, you are part of a process. So if you get infected, you will infect someone else who clearly will infect someone else. We know that happens because the reproduction element of the virus is not less than one. So people are infecting other people. And then ultimately you will infect someone who's vulnerable. Now that may be somebody's grandmother, grandfather, uncle who's on chemotherapy, aunt who's on radiation or chemotherapy, or a child who has leukemia.
The Department of Justice is actually arguing that the Affordable Care Act should be struck down before the Supreme Court. Yeah, filed it late yesterday. Now, again, here we are right now in the United States. 2,374,282 cases of COVID-19. 37,667 new cases. Y'all, 692 new deaths. Really? Really? Now we get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Dr. Georges Benjamin, Executive Director of the American Public Health Association. Doc, first of all, what the hell was Mike Pence talking about? Oh, how everything is reopening. The governor of Texas, my native state, literally said, shut all bars down, reduce capacity of restaurants, and said, y'all stay at home if you have to.
Yeah, he was spinning nonsense. You've got a very bad epidemic running through the South, and as you know, they're just pretending like it's not going on. It's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen.
Well, and again, what you have is Mike Pence and Donald Trump are in denial because they are scared to death of losing, and so they're hell bent on reopen the country. But you see what happened in Texas. They did it prematurely. The governor ignored the mayors, ignored the county judges, and now all of a sudden, after opening it, now you got to shut it down because cases are spiking, hospital beds are filling up.
You know, the challenge is, I think that there were many of the public health experts told them this would happen. You delay the preventive measures that we had, and then you rapidly open up too soon. This is what happens when you do that. And, you know, you open up the bars, and then now you got to close them back down again. They closed them abruptly today because, you know, people were congregating in those bars. And then they're surprised that lots of young people are getting infected.
Right.
Roland, then as you said, on top of that, then they want to take the health insurance coverage away for the people that need it in America. And by the way, all of us will be impacted for it. A lot of people don't really understand that every person in America's impacted by the Affordable Care Act if we lose it.
I mean, it's amazing how callous these people are, and really they refuse to listen to doctors, and they're hell bent on the stock market. It's just we don't care. Open stuff up, and what I keep saying, people are actually dying from this. And now, if you talk about half of the new cases are young folks, let their lungs all of a sudden start exploding, and then see what happens.
Well, you know, the loss of the Affordable Care Act means that you can no longer carry your child on to age 26 on your policy. So young people will lose their insurance coverage as well. You know, it's a terrible thing to do. And look, the really fascinating thing for me is the fact that the state of Texas is one of the lead litigants to try to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And the governor of Texas is now saying, whoa, wait a minute, maybe we need the Affordable Care Act, as well as many Republican members of Congress who were actively against the Affordable Care Act are now sending letters saying, well, maybe we ought to not get rid of it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you stuck on stupid. Simple as that. Dr. George Benjamin, Executive Director of the American Public Health Association. We appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Roland, thank you very much.
Rob, these people have no damn sense whatsoever. I mean, they're really idiotic.
Yeah, they really are. And this, the resurgence of the coronavirus was not only predictable, it was predicted. Like, we follow data. I believe in science. They told you this was going to happen, but everybody wanted to reopen the states because they were following the prophets. They were following the idiocy of the present occupant of the White House. Just because he said it was a sham, we got to go along with this stupid stuff. And then the only problem with that, I would be okay with stupid, but other people are dying because of their stupidity. And so us as people, we have to take our own government back right now because we have idiots leading us. We have assholes leading us, and it's causing real significant damage. And none of this is funny anymore. So, yes, so this is predictable. You have Texas talking about shutting down bars. They shouldn't have opened them in the first place. Now they're ironically causing more economic damage on the back end if they would have just done it right on the front end, followed the science, follow the facts, get politics out of it, and actually look out for people's lives. But that's just too much to ask, I guess.
Teresa, and not only that, you had the hearing, you had the news conference today, and you got everybody else wearing a mask. Pence like, damn, I'm not wearing a mask. That's how, and now you have the doctor saying, hey, could all y'all please wear your mask?
It's bad because when you have a highly skilled doctor and Dr. Fauci, where people believe him, it's like you're just disobeying the doctor's orders on purpose, right? And now you're passing it down to the citizens of the states. And so, I'm not surprised. I saw this 3-month confinement for most, and it literally was unbearable, right? So when the first protest happened and people were just unleashing their masks and raising their voices, I said, we are going backwards. You know, the numbers and the data that we were able to achieve are now going in the tanks. And then what happened? Then we started to reopen, which began with the new phases, right? And so when the phases happened, that's when the dining happened. And when you're doing outside dining, the masks are off in its entirety, right? So it doesn't matter how close you are. Nobody was paying attention to rules. No social distancing was happening. The protests, the looting, all these are factors that, again, all happened if everybody was responsible. But again, it really comes to our leadership. So if our leadership is not doing what the doctor prescribed us to do in order to get out of this effectively, then we are at a lost hope.
And look, bottom line is, Derek, all the good that came actually out of the lockdown, they're about to squander it.
Agreed. But I would say that all of it don't go back to the administration, because there were standards put in place by the CDC that the states were to follow, and that control in terms of opening up the states was by the governor's call. Because right here in Maryland, we opened up until months after other places. And so now I think it's going to be left up to the states to handle at this point. Just like, as you said, your state, your home state, Texas, shut everything down.
Yeah, but
I think a lot of other states, unfortunately, going to shut things down too.
But Derek, I got to put the blame on the federal government, because like right now, the federal government is about to pull out of federal testing facilities in Texas while the numbers are going up. That's stupid.
Roland, I can't speak on that. As we want testing, obviously the numbers are going to go up.
I think it's stupid.
But at the same time, if I finish my point, it's the state. They gave control of the states. They had a guide. There were guides that they had to follow. 2 weeks without the numbers going up, and most of the states, that's what they hit. Those were the guidelines. Those were the measures that were put in place. Those were the metrics, and they hit that. So the states started reopening. And so now we're faced, because of, like I said, mostly young people out protesting, unfortunately, with what happened. That's why we're seeing these. These people hanging out in these bars.
Well,
and, the
that's actually not been true.
And Mike's hanging out in the
data has not
all
shown
right, Rob, 20 seconds, real quick, go.
Yeah, very quickly. The leadership sets the culture. At the very beginning, he said this was a hoax. He didn't take it seriously. He should have said a national response, because it required a national response. Instead, he just gave away leadership and took no accountability. So this is what you get when you have no leader.
Look, bottom line is you just got trifling people.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, fam, the folks at Seek.com, founded by Mary Spio, a sister, of course. She is the inventor, the creator of these devices, this virtual reality headset right here. You saw it in the video there. And also the 360-degree 4D headphones. You can actually get these with a discount because they partner with us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Right here, here's the code, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. First of all, folks, the headsets are phenomenal. The headphones are absolutely phenomenal. And, of course, the VR headset is great because you just pop your phone, put it into the device, and then you can actually see video in virtual reality. So it's real cool. Go to Seek.com, Seek.com, and use the promo code RMVIP2020. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, watch this. This is actually from a Walmart in Florida. Watch this.
Put your hands off me. Bro, you gotta wear a mask, bro. Bro, these folks is tripping, bro. Hey, sir, everybody got on masks, man. Everybody got on masks, man.
You want a mask, man? I got some.
Bro, this is too funny, bro. Poor thing, man. Look, he got a look at it, bro. Bro, the man doing his job, bro. Just get a mask.
5 times right there, Ebony. That guy assaulted the Walmart worker, and the guy's like, dude, you gotta put a mask on.
And the insane thing is he looks high risk just by looking at him. And that's the crazy thing is when you pledge your allegiance to Trump, for lack of better words, but when you pledge allegiance to someone that has no direction and has literally is a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, and you know that he will do any and everything just for the betterment of him, then you should also know that he will put your life at risk. And so someone who knows full well they're older and likely has comorbidities on top of that, you are literally actively almost committing acts of kind of suicide. Like, why would you intentionally want to do that in Walmart of all places?
Well, but here's the deal, though. First of all, you saw that video. He's walking in, Ebony, and that's the food section. Dude, you could be breathing on food there. And in fact, this was the video from last week, from 4 days ago in Brooklyn, New York. Again, where you had one of these crazy-ass people. And the reason I'm playing these people is because, look, after the George Floyd case, we were so focused on that. The reality is, every day we're going to keep doing these COVID-19 updates because we are being most impacted. People are still testing positive. They're still dying. Although, because cable news is not focusing on it as much as they were, it's still happening. Watch this, y'all. This was in Brooklyn, New York.
This is the problem. No mask, no service. You need to go. Black Lives Matter. No, you will never take this out. You need to take this out. You need to take this out. Yes. No. Yes.
This is her establishment. This is her workplace.
Yes.
Stop.
So it's a protest. It's a protest. It's not a protest.
It's a protest.
You're making a protest. I'm making a protest. Yes. Yes, I'm making a protest. All lives matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. Shut up and just wait, so you guys are allowed to make the protest. I'm not allowed to make
Here's a guy, Mustafa. You take the Black Lives Matter sign down. And she says, no mask, no service. Now I'm trying to figure out, don't you see signs that say no shoes, no shirt, no service?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we could really simplify this. Whether on the federal level, the president, if he was serious about protecting people's lives, could work with Congress, can work with governors and others and say, we're going to have a national set of requirements. And one of those requirements is that you have to wear a mask. It's not that difficult. And they could also put some of these other things in place so there is consistency. You see, the president doesn't want consistency because with consistency comes responsibility. And he does not want to be responsible in this moment for anything. He wants to have the flexibility to say, well, they decided they didn't want to do it. So that's what it comes down to. We need leadership. And with leadership, he can make sure that the country is protected because everybody would be in agreement. And he would be actually showing by wearing his own mask that it is serious and that is a priority to get our country's economy going again, because we have to make sure that we are dealing with this virus. And once we had that taken care of, then we could focus on the economy.
All right, then. Ebony Hilton, your last comment, please.
Right. Well, with Donald Trump, I actually don't know if he's going that deep into reasons of why he doesn't. I think it's honestly, he doesn't want to necessarily be truthful about things, for one, because he doesn't know what to do. But for two, because if he does lose this election by acknowledging that he completely flopped on all of this, he can get indicted. So I honestly just think this is let me put my head in the sand. Let me hope everyone else does too, so that I can stay in office, because I can't be indicted while I'm a sitting president. But that's why we people have to be focused to say, in November, I don't care who is on a ticket and what do we have to do. We need to vote. Send in your absentee ballots. You can do your mail-in ballot now. Make those requests. Make some phone calls. Get people energized, because we cannot afford to have 4 more years of this chaos. That's it.
Dr. Ebony J. Hilton, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Seek.com is a partnership with them, where, of course, Mary Spiel, she's the founder of Seek.com. She is the inventor of these 360-degree 4D headphones. Unbelievable sound. Folks, you can use this for gaming. You can also, of course, with music, videos, you name it. And so what's great about this is that the sound actually, so when you're listening, it literally travels all around your head as opposed to normal headphones. And so I really, really do like these listening to music. Like I say, they have a microphone that you can attach to it, but you can use this when you're playing video games. And so they have a partnership with them. So if you want to buy these headphones, you go to seek.com, but use this promo code RMVIP2020. RMVIP2020 to actually join. So please take advantage of that. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Now, this spring, a team working under Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, produced a plan for an aggressive, coordinated national COVID-19 testing plan that was supposed to have brought the pandemic under control. After assembling a team that came up with this plan, Kushner then decided, okay, we're just going to scrap it. Now, today on Capitol Hill, you, of course, had all of the drama on Capitol Hill. You were dealing with Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying, and then Jim Jordan was his, usual making an ass out of himself. And so just listen to some of the back and forth that was going on in this hearing. Go ahead, y'all. 53 days. Rob, you're from Ohio. There's nothing like it. I mean, Jim Jordan's one of the biggest asses on Capitol Hill. Here's what's interesting about Jim Jordan's question. Should government limit protests? Government actually can't limit protests. The reason Fauci is making the statement is that actually people are assembling on their own. What government does, what government can do, like for instance, when government says we're closing the beaches, okay, government actually can't say, no, we're taking tickets. There are only going to be 50 people at this protest. That's really what Fauci was saying. Fauci was saying, see, Jordan wanted him to say no protest. That's what he said. He said, I'm saying no mass groups.
No, I mean, he made it clear. And Jim Jordan is he's an asshole. I don't know, he's a lot of things, but he shouldn't be in office. And you would point out to me, he is from Ohio. I don't claim him, though. And some people do. He got elected somehow. I don't know. But he is trying to set up this false narrative. He's trying to get his base say they're trying to take away your right to go to church while they go out there and protest for crazy things like making sure black people's lives matter and don't get killed. And they're trying to rile up their base and set up like the government is trying to stop you from exercising your right, but letting those people exercise their right. We know what they're doing. And, we have to make sure people get out, vote, and end not only Trump, but Trumpism, which stands for this, which stands for dividing people along race, that says our lives doesn't matter. That's, I'm sure you talked about this. The current president occupant of the White House said he wants to delay the election. They want to just make up new rules. That's what they want to do.
Lauren, again, you're sitting here, and I'm looking at all these conservatives on social media. Oh, Fauci, he wouldn't say the words. He wouldn't say the words. The man said there should not be mass gathering of people anywhere because that is helping to spread the disease.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say, right? We're sitting here with 152,000 Americans dead in a pandemic. We have some of the worst rates of infection and death on the planet. Anthony Fauci has been a doctor his entire life, obviously worked on the AIDS crisis, obviously a renowned physician. And unfortunately, as part of his job, he has to sit and listen to stupid, inane questions by idiots that get elected to Congress from people who are dumb enough to vote for them. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch. It's particularly embarrassing and dangerous when we have, over 1 million people infected and over 152,000 dead and counting. And we don't know when that count ends. And so it's shameful, really. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than Jim Jordan and his idiot friends. It's just stupid. The fact that, you want to reroute the narrative, you want to make a YouTube tape for yourself, for your constituents to look at, or for you to put on your website, and that has become the reason that you sit in Congress. That has become the reason that you are questioning a physician is trying to save lives in this country and waste everybody's time, waste that physician's time, waste precious time off the clock as people are dying. It doesn't get any more embarrassing. It doesn't get any more stupid. I do think we're probably going to see some sort of a wave election on November 3rd, because at some point, people have had enough. And when you have 40 million people who file for unemployment and this many people dead, maybe perhaps this is the moment. One could only hope so, because I don't know what else can happen to convince some of these people to stop voting for these idiots to come into Congress and sit and ask dumbass questions.
So hold on. So Derek, I'm about to show another idiot. This is really funny. So this guy, Blaine.
Why are these people idiots and Democrats not?
No, because no, I'm about to wait, because I'm about to explain to you. So here's a guy, Representative Blaine Luetkemeyer, whatever it is. He's a farmer. He later owned a bank and worked as an insurance agent. And so Fauci, who's a doctor, they're talking about hydrochloroquine. Listen to this exchange.
Things you made a comment a while ago with regards to hydroxychloroquine, and I have an article here that quotes the Henry Ford Health System, who did an extensive study on hydroxychloroquine, and they say that it significantly reduces the death rate of COVID patients. The study was highly analyzed by peer-reviewed, unlike many other studies, and quoting the executive officer said, as doctors and scientists, we look at the data for insight, and the data here is clear. There was a benefit to using the drug as a treatment for sick and hospitalized patients. And in talking with a lot of older doctors who have been around a while, and I trust their judgment and their use of hydroxychloroquine, they say that the initial studies didn't really use zinc with it, and they say that zinc is an enabler to be able to help hydroxychloroquine actually do its job of going after and reducing deaths in patients. Had a long conversation with a doctor earlier in the week, and he said, yes, as long as zinc is there, it really definitely does work. Without it, it's minimally effective. Would you like to comment on that?
Thank you for that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It said it was peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial. The point that I think is important, because we all want to keep an open mind, any and all of the randomized placebo-controlled trials, which is the gold standard of determining if something is effective, none of them had shown any efficacy for hydroxychloroquine.
Derek, he's like, but it's peer-reviewed.
Well, first of all, I'm baffled and don't understand at what point, when in history, have peer reviews not been taken seriously?
Because the point. No, hold on. You said when? The point that Fauci was stating is.
The second thing I want to ask is.
Hold on. You asked the first one. Let's answer it. Hold on. You asked the first one. Hold on. Wait. You asked the first one. Can we answer the first one before you go to the second one?
No, I'm not finished.
No, wait. Hold on. No. You said.
And I said second. Let me finish.
Hold up. We're going to answer the first one, and then you can ask the second one. So, to answer...
That's how I want to do it.
Well, that's how I want to do it. Derek, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to answer one question. Derek, it's like when I have two questions. I ask the first one, get an answer to it, then I ask the second one. Well, right. No, but that's actually how hosts do it. So, here's the deal. So, no. So, you asked... No. Of course, we're going to do it my way. So, you asked... How is it a peer review? So here's it. No. I'm gonna bring all three of you in. You asked peer review.
No, you asked me a question.
Derek, Fauci answered it. He said just because it's. Hold on. This is the deal. This is just real simple. I'm gonna play again Fauci's answer. I want you to listen. No, I want you to listen to it. Hold up. You asked, when do we not pay attention to peer review? Fauci answered it. Folks, press play. Press play, folks.
That's Fauci.
Press play.
Thank you for that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It says it's peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled.
Okay, so Derek, he just said you can
let me finish.
He can say you can peer review a bad study. That answers your question.
Next thing I was going to say, if I can ever finish on your show.
Go ahead.
Everybody on this panel has, didn't agree with their doctor and we got a second opinion. Why the hell does Dr. Fauci got to be the end all to be all? We can get a second opinion because there are other doctors who disagree with Dr. Fauci. And they have PhDs just like him, and they're not wrong for disagreeing with Dr. Fauci.
I got a question for you.
I'm not wrong for disagreeing with what y'all have to say.
Actually, if we're stating facts and you're not stating facts, then you could be wrong. But Rob, here's the deal. Rob, here's the deal. This is the person who is head of the what? NIH. This is the person who. Well, of course you don't care, but this is the person. This is the person who. No, he's just not just a doctor. There's like he's not that. Rob, he's just not that crazy woman down in Texas who believed in demon sperm and demon DNA. No, and so no, it's actually it's not my opinion. It's my opinion, but also if I hold up Fauci and the crazy sister in Texas, I'm probably not going to listen to the crazy sister in Texas who says there is demon sperm. Rob, go ahead. Rob, go ahead. Rob, go ahead. Rob is talking.
Not much of a different opinion when it comes to this. There are things that we know, and unfortunately, the right has become an exercise in stupidity. Like, who can be dumbest the fastest? We're arguing science. We're arguing that.
Rob is talking. Rob is talking. Finish your point, then I'll go to another guest. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're arguing if the Earth spins. We're arguing if the Earth is flat. Like they're arguing facts. It's not about saying, Dr. Fauci is the end-all, be-all. Dr. Fauci is talking about how science works, and what Republicans are trying to do is pretend like, just like you do with climate change, like, oh, that doesn't exist and that's just made up. No, these are facts. Like 99% of doctors agree, and people that are looking at the facts and reasoning, not trying to make a president look not bad because he's a fool. And because Dr. Fauci is doing his job and you have an incompetent White House, these people are doing everything possible to deflect and blame things on Dr. Fauci because you have an incompetent person in the White House. Like, we need to just follow science. We could have saved a lot more people had we not followed science.
One second, I'm bringing Lauren in. Lauren, this is the thing. Lauren, this is the thing for me that is quite interesting. So when you hear Fauci talk about controlled, when you hear him talk about placebo, he's talking about how doctors and scientists actually properly assess drugs. He's laying out protocol. Excuse me, the member of Congress, Lauren, he's like, yeah, but it's peer reviewed. He's like, yeah, but they didn't follow the traditional protocols that you go through. Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, so last I checked, Anthony Fauci is an immunologist. He's a doctor, went to medical school. Last I checked, Jim Jordan's a wrestling coach. Now, if you want to argue whether or not today is Friday, that's fine. You want to argue whether or not today is, the day in July, that's fine. But if we stick to facts, I think I'm going to trust a doctor that has like a medical degree before any of these members of Congress, to the exclusion of some of the doctors in Congress who are very smart. But, we've watched Rand Paul, who's a physician as well, ask some of the dumbest questions of Anthony Fauci in committee. I mean, at some point, you have to get serious when, like I said, 150,000 people are dead. This is not a situation, this is an unprecedented situation with people dying by the tens of thousands. And we've got members of Congress that want to play games in a hearing with the top physician on this issue so that they can make a little video for themselves to turn on their base for the election. Like I said, it's shameful, it's embarrassing, and I think that the Republican Party is going to pay a huge price this November. And that's why you see things like the Lincoln Project, because half the party has figured out we can't continue to be this stupid in public. And hopefully that bears some fruit on Election Day. This is why you got the president trying to steal the election with his nonsense, because he knows it's coming. And all the polls and all the indicators indicate that, in fact, we are going to have a realignment in November.
All right, so I do want, I'm gonna let Derek respond. I want to play this soundbite from Congressman Jim Clyburn from today's hearing before I do so. Go.
Can you help us understand why? While Europe has largely contained the virus, the United States has seen a continued rise in new cases.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The answer to that question is really somewhat complex, but I'll try maybe to very briefly go through what I believe are at least some of the factors that were involved. If you look at what happened in Europe when they shut down or locked down or went to shelter in place, however you want to describe it, they really did it to the tune of about 95+% of the country did that. When you actually look at what we did, even though we shut down, even though it created a great deal of difficulty, we really functionally shut down only about 50% in the sense of the totality of the country, which means when we reached our peak, as they did, they came down almost to a low baseline, as you've shown very clearly. But take a look at what happened to our baseline. We came up, down, and then we plateaued at about 20,000 cases a day. So we started off with a very difficult baseline of transmission that was going on at the time that we try to open up the country. And when we opened up the country, what we saw, particularly most recently in the southern states, was an increase of cases to 20, 30, 40, 50, and a couple of weeks ago it was up to 70,000 per day, and now it's down between 50 and 60. And the reasons for that are complex. There were some states that did it very well, and there are some states that did not. And when I say did not, I mean, we put out, as Ranking Member Scalise mentioned, the guidelines of a gateway, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Some were followed very carefully and some were not.
Derek, the reason I thought that was important because every time we hear Donald Trump talk, he's like, oh, we're doing great. We're doing great, but way better than Europe. Oh, we have tested more. We're doing more. So why are we still seeing 60 and 70,000 cases? That's leadership. That's leadership. That's leadership. And unfortunately, because you asked earlier, why is this political? Because part of the problem is that where we're seeing the skyrocketing cases in states led by Republican governors who are refusing to listen to the doctors.
I don't know if that's the case in every state, Roland. Different. Look, they laid it out. Initially, the states were like, oh, we don't want the federal government involved. We want to do it ourselves. So it's like, okay, we'll come up with a plan.
Actually, that's not what the states
do. I'll never get to finish my statement.
But that's a factually incorrect statement.
What is incorrect?
The states actually said we're looking for the federal government to lead, and then when Donald Trump said, hey, this y'all problem, they were like, well, damn, we got to figure this amongst ourselves. That's actually what happened.
So the states are rolled out the plan, Roland. Did they not?
No.
Did the states roll out the plan?
No, the states, no. The states said, federal government, where is the national plan? Donald Trump was like, yo, this on y'all. And the states then, different states and regions got together and said, since he is not going to lead, we have...
Listen to you.
No. But you said, they then said, we...
To you, bro.
No, you just said something that's just factually incorrect. You said the states rolled their plan out. The states rolled their plan out after the federal government refused to implement a national plan. They had no choice. And the problem was, it wasn't all states. Most of your southern states were like, nope, no to mask mandates. Nope, we're not going to shut everything down. Nope, we're not going to do widespread testing because they were all following Donald Trump's lead.
Correct.
So what happened? In May.
Here's my thing. If y'all have all the answers, let me put you in contact with some folks. Because y'all have all the answers.
No.
And if y'all got all the answers, y'all been keeping them to yourself.
No, actually.
Let me put you in contact with some folks.
Actually,
so
the people you want to put us in.
Y'all got all the answers.
Actually,
these people don't know what they're doing.
the people you want to put us in contact with ain't listening to their own experts.
Listen,
I'm trying to put you in contact because y'all got all the answers.
Doesn't know what Governor DeSantis doesn't know what he's doing.
All the answers.
Hold on. Derek, in May, Ron DeSantis stood in front of the media outside of the White House with Vice President Mike Pence and wagged his finger, and y'all said we were going to see spikes. And y'all said we were going to see deaths. And he was going on and on and on. He said, we haven't seen none of that. Y'all owe me an apology. 4 weeks later, spikes. Deaths skyrocketing, and then it was
let me go out of day. In January, the president shut down travel from Europe.
Actually, he didn't.
Joe Biden said he was a xenophobe for doing that. Remember that? Nancy Pelosi said, "Come on down to China."
No, Derek. Let me also give you a fact. Donald Trump gave an interview. No. Donald Trump, Derek. Let me help you. Donald Trump gave an interview on CNBC. He said there's one person from China with it in America. A week later, he said, a week later, Donald Trump said, we have 15 cases in America. We'll soon be down to 0. That actually came out of his mouth. Right now, Derek, we have 152,000 dead.
Okay.
Well, y'all got all the answers.
Rob, go ahead.
Hold on a second, Derek. We're not saying we have all the answers. We can just tell, we know it's Friday. We know it's Friday. We know some certain facts. And, no matter how much you might want to defend somebody because they're from your party, this guy is not doing a good job.
I'm not defending anyone, Ron.
Hold on.
I'm not defending anyone.
Hold on. Relax. All I'm saying is Trump. Wait a minute. Trump has done not only a bad job, he's done a horrible job. He's both incompetent and corrupt. And now he's put people's lives at risk just because he wanted to prove a political point. Honestly, had he been a normal president, he probably would have had a chance to pivot from this and show some leadership. A normal president would have taken the reins, would have said, this is our national response. He refused to do that. And then you have governors like Governor DeSantis, which he said, we're going to be you guys were saying that we were going to have all these deaths, just like Roland said. They have surpassed New York, surpassed them. We have full leaders. We have the guy, the governor of Georgia, who is trying to get rid of mask mandates just to look good for Trump. That's stupid. That's not. And so I want to say this: we do have a Republican governor here in Ohio who has rejected what Trump has done. He's not been perfect, but he's tried to actually go for the evidence. Here in Ohio, he's done that.
Same as a Republican governor in Maryland, Larry Hogan, because you have.
So it's not Republican. It's common sense.
Right. But that's it. Right. In fact, the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, she said, no, we're going to have a mask mandate. We're going to close businesses down.
Y'all validated my point. Why is it got to be political? That's all I was saying.
Because why? Because
why got to be political every time it's somebody else's mouth?
Because most of the stupid people who are making decisions are Republicans.
And they put us in this position. Let me say this, because hey, Derek.
Rob, 20 seconds, next story, go.
I'll be very quick. Wearing a mask became political because Trump said, I'm not going to go out and wear a mask. And then suddenly he wears a mask and now it's saving people's lives. He should have done that from the beginning. It shouldn't be political. This is stupid.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Let's now talk about coronavirus's impact on the country. We are seeing it come back with a vengeance. We're seeing California, Texas, significant numbers there. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, this idiot, okay, who was so gung-ho, Greg, your mother's living there, all my family's there. He was so gung-ho about reopening the state. Now, all of a sudden, guess what? He's saying, hey, can y'all stay home? Well, you didn't listen to the mayors of the cities and the county judges who were telling you don't reopen the state so fast. Folks, we have 2,336,615 cases of coronavirus. 121,000 people have died. 784 of those deaths are new. Now you have the federal government, Erica, pulling the federal testing sites out of places like Texas and Arizona where the numbers are going up. Why would you pull testing out when the numbers are increasing?
Yeah, we actually saw reporting on this, Roland, like back in April or early May. When we're looking at, and it's really interesting that this is happening, right? But we knew that this was going to happen because the coronavirus is a novel, meaning it is a new virus. So when those folks who were out front saying, well, it's only impacting this demographic, so those demographics need to make sure that they stay at home, everyone else can kind of, play it by ear, so to speak. And now we're seeing that the numbers are up amongst the 18 to 29 group because this is a new and novel virus. Again, I think that it's really important to reinforce that a lot of the decisions that were made around the state executive governors to reopen as early as they did, to allow those stay-at-home orders to expire as early as April and May, were made because of economic reasons, specifically when the data began to creep out to show that this virus was impacting Black and brown people, meaning the folks that engine the economy. Also, is disproportionately impacting them. We can continue to sacrifice them in the name of business. So now what we're seeing happening in your home state of Texas is that the Texas Children's Hospital has had to start making their facility available for grown people because the numbers are just that staggering. And I was watching Business News today. I'm watching different doctors who are painted with fear because they're really scared that there's going to be an explosion that cannot be contained, bearing in mind that the CDC director has told us today that the numbers may be 10 times higher than what we're seeing, the 2 million that are being reported. So our nation is really in a critical place. And if folks do not wear masks, if people do not social distance, what they're seeing happening in Texas will be happening in their state very soon.
Greg, real simple. I mean, bottom line is these governors, these Republican governors, were trying to follow Trump's lead. And people like Dr. Ebony Hilton, I got a doctor coming up next, kept trying to say, y'all, take this thing slow, stop trying to ramp up. Now they're seeing what happens when you don't listen to the health professionals.
That's right, brother. And as we just heard, brilliantly put, Erica laid us down through it. We are the ones who are going to suffer disproportionately. This idiot, as you say, Abbott, your family, my family, and not just our two families, but millions of people in the state of Texas now subject to this clown. Sylvester Turner in Houston, one of the counties that has been, they're saying they're going to suspend elective surgery. Mayor Turner comes out and says, hey, man, my intensive care wards are already at 97% capacity. My sister and brother-in-law are in health care. And they'll tell you just as fast as, anybody else will tell you, look, when this thing gets overwhelmed, it's going to be in those major cities where our people are. Chokwe Antar was on television earlier today. Chokwe Antar Lumumba, the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi. Those idiots in Mississippi, the attorney general there still hasn't reached an agreement to share reporting data with the biggest city by a factor of 3 in the state of Mississippi and the place where the hospitals are. So who is going to be overwhelmed? Our black and brown women and men who are first responders working in those hospitals. Those people are going to come in. They will be overwhelmed. Finally, idiots like Brian Kemp in Georgia, idiots like that fool in Florida are pressing this thing to the point, when you look at the map, the red states where there's up, there are 29 states where this thing is going up. You see most of them, the old Confederacy and those Republican governor states. You're seeing the continuing fraction of the country as Cuomo and Phil Murphy in Jersey and the guy in Connecticut are like, y'all can't come here from these states. And if you come here, you got to sequester for 2 weeks. This is not only testing the United States as a concept, it is going to lead to the fracture of the United States as a concept. Mark my words on that.
All right, joining us right now, Dr. Carissa Culbreth, Chief Medical Director of Infectious Disease Diagnostics at Tricor Reference Laboratories. Doc, glad to have you here. This is what I find to be just unbelievable. I'm watching this whole deal right now, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Are they not listening to people who are putting their lives on the front line? I'm sitting here and I'm going, what are you doing? Doctors and ER folks, they're screaming in Texas and Arizona. They're fighting these nuts walking around with their guns. Oh, no, I don't want to put a mask on. As if 121,000 dead just didn't happen.
Right. No, I can't understand. I think at this point, everybody knows somebody. I think early on, people had a lot of questions. Is this real? Is this a hoax? But everybody knows somebody, or people themselves have experienced the virus. This is not a hoax. This is absolutely real. And so the way that we deal with viruses like this in hospitals that can be transmitted from person to person is by wearing masks. And I can point you to the data that shows that this works. It's not just with this virus. I think everybody, whether or not you think coronavirus is a fluke or not, everybody knows that the flu is real. And if you look at the numbers of flu cases, they all fell dramatically once we started social distancing. So we know now coronavirus is real. We know social distancing stops viruses. Coronavirus, flu, other colds. We've seen cases of influenza-like illness, so common colds and other respiratory illnesses. They just fell immediately once we started social distancing. And now that we're wearing masks, people have to see that this is really real. And there's a way that we can protect ourselves and we can protect others.
So the spike is real. We're seeing it. Who are the folks our people are being impacted the most? What states are you looking at where this is being a problem?
Well, I think we've all seen right now, Texas is definitely a problem. We've seen spikes go up in Texas, but it's not just Texas. Texas, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, several other states in the South, even Oklahoma, have now displayed the highest cases in a single day has occurred either yesterday or today. So really, we're seeing cases go up, number of positive cases go up all over the country. And the big challenge that I see with this is that the federal government just yesterday announced that they were halting the testing component of the CARES Act, which was supporting testing, federally funded testing in multiple states, one of which was Texas. And so now that means that states and hospitals will no longer receive that federal funding to support testing, and they will have to find testing resources, which has been a challenge since the beginning of this crisis. But at least some places had some federal support. That funding is ending, and they'll be on their own to find the testing supplies and resources.
I got to ask you this here. What do you make of this story? Oregon County has decided to make people of color exempt from its mandatory mask policies, citing the potential for racial profiling. Okay, I'm trying to understand that now. Lincoln County's general directive requires everyone to wear a face covering in any indoor public setting or any outdoor setting where 6 feet of social distancing can't be maintained. But the county wrote on its website, quote, People of color who have heightened concerns about racial profiling and harassment due to wearing face coverings in public are exempt from the rules. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
The problem, this is a symptom, right? So we're saying because systematic racism exists and implicit bias has not been dealt with, that instead of dealing with people's own implicit biases, instead of dealing with systematic racism, we say, let's put the Black people and people of color at risk because we can't check ourselves and not racially profile you. That's basically what it sounds like people are saying. And that's a problem. It has to be a problem. We have to protect ourselves. I think every individual, it's your right to protect yourself. And remember, your mask, so my mask protects you from me. And so I tell my 8-year-old daughter and my 6-year-old son that wearing a mask is how we tell our friends that we care about them. So me not wearing a mask, really, it's not that I'm not protected. I'm not protecting you from me. We've got to get this in our heads that, one, we have to deal with implicit bias, and we have to deal with systemic racism, and that's been plaguing our country for 400 years, and it's showing up even more with the disproportional effect of this virus in minority communities, not just Black communities, Hispanic and Latinx communities, Native American communities, but for us all to get through this, we've got to put on masks, and we have to be able to get tested.
All right, then. Well, I wish these political people, who are so focused on, look, they're focused on trying to please Donald Trump, who desperately wants to get reelected. And you know what's so crazy? If he actually showed leadership and we actually went to massive testing,
right,
it probably, that would actually be seen as a good thing. But you know what? Okay, he won't be stuck on stupid. Going right ahead. I just keep telling Black people, don't listen to them. Keep your behind at home, wash your hands, put your mask on, stop having these damn group gatherings. All y'all Black people in Atlanta, take your asses home. All standing in line for Nikes, been at the mall, the nonsense that we're seeing across the country is crazy. I'm sorry, your life ain't worth a pair of Air Jordans. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Dr. Colbert, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, fam, the folks at Seek.com, founded by Mary Spio, a sister, of course. She is the inventor, the creator of these devices, this virtual reality headset right here. You saw it in the video there. And also the 360-degree 4D headphones. You can actually get these with a discount because they partner with us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Right here, here's the code, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. First of all, folks, the headsets are phenomenal. The headphones are absolutely phenomenal. And, of course, the VR headset is great because you just pop your phone, put it into the device, and you can actually see video in virtual reality. So it's real cool. Go to Seek.com, Seek.com, CEEK.com, and use the promo code RMVIP2020. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. I want to play this video for y'all. The Daily Show put this video together. I think this is the absolute perfect example of what happens when you're stuck on stupid and you watch Fox News. See, that's the reason they don't call me, because you'll never hear me saying this ignorant stuff. Watch this. Let's see here. All right, trying to get the video to play, because this is, I saw this video, and when I say I hollered laughing, if y'all having the control room, go ahead and play it. Looks like we're having an issue playing it out here. This, let's see, what the video lays out is, on Fox News, they were condemning New York Governor Mario Cuomo, trashing California Governor Newsom, Oh my goodness. They were saying how flat out awful they were and how they were leading. And then they started praising all of the people who the governors of Florida and Texas and how they're doing things right and how they're opening up their states and how things are just fantastic.
Got it right.
Watch this.
And guess what? Now it's time for all the states to follow. Florida got it right. Texas got it right. And guess what? Now it's time for all the states to follow their lead.
Governor DeSantis now looks like a genius.
Ron DeSantis of Florida, the governor, doing a fantastic job in Florida.
Governor, those dire predictions have not come true.
They look to Florida and they look at Texas that have reopened, and it hasn't led to a massive second wave.
In a very real sense, Florida is leading the way.
It's been 2 months, and Florida has figured out how to manage this pretty effectively.
Governor DeSantis, who's doing a phenomenal job. The state of Florida, which happens to be my great home state.
I can't get to Florida or Texas fast enough, and I think there's plenty of people thinking the exact same way.
How much longer are you going to keep me out of your state? I would like to go visit. When am I allowed back in?
We're glad you're opening up. We're ready to have some sunshine and get out of the house.
It's great to be in Florida, and I'm going to be back here in a week.
And I've always wanted to move to Texas. Now I think I have to.
Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, he knows what he's doing. He's a great governor.
Governor Greg Abbott, we can learn a lot from you and a lot from Governor DeSantis, but we can also learn a lot from Governor Cuomo and Governor Murphy what not to do, because they did the opposite of what you guys did.
Texas, Florida gave us clues. Take the success clues.
The successes of Florida, Texas, the failures of New York, New Jersey.
We got to get the whole country open like Tennessee and Texas and Florida.
He's got it in great shape. Texas, Florida's doing very well.
How did you do it? Because we need to learn as we reopen. Great job down there.
Keep up the great work.
You did a great job. You saved a lot of lives, and there's a lot to learn from your success.
Ha! Oh my God, that is an absolutely hilarious segment. Joining me right now is Sean Shaw. First of all, he is a former Florida House representative. He is the founder of People Over Profits. Sean, what's a trip there watching that video? We now know that the cases are exploding in Florida and Texas. As of today, 9,194 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the state's total to 291,629. 132 new deaths announced. Statewide death total is 4,409. Miami, epicenter for the virus. Ron DeSantis even comes out and says, yeah, you know what? We really can't lay the blame on this, on testing. There's something else. All that praise of Fox, all of that praise comes crashing down.
Brother, I don't know what to say. I was watching that video, and I'll tell you, if it wasn't so dire down here in Florida, I'd be laughing. But, you know, the governor preened and pranced and went in front of the media and told them that New York was doing it wrong and he was doing it right.
Hold on. No, chastise. Chastise people.
Well, he then demanded an apology from the media when the numbers didn't immediately go up, and demanded that they apologize to him for picking on him. And now you see that we are almost the worldwide daily epicenter of COVID-19 coronavirus, and it's awful. And that video, damn, brother, that video was right on point, because a lot of us here in Florida, we have memories. And I remember just a month ago, or just 2 months ago, and now we look like fools, and I'm sitting here in my house in Florida scared to leave because we are the worst state in the union.
Oh, and again, on the same day, Memorial Day weekend, when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, Texas Governor Greg Abbott opens the state. They sat here and they chastised Judge Eric Moyer, who told this woman who owned the hair salon, look, I won't see you in the jail if you apologize. She wouldn't do it. They raised money, and he said, don't you dare send anybody to jail because they won't wear a mask and they won't close up their business. And all these folks running around and defending that nonsense. And now all of a sudden, the governor says just 24 hours ago, we might have to shut down the entire state. Hospital beds have filled up. hospitals all over the state are showing an explosion in cases, and now he's saying we need to have a mandatory mask wearing publicly, and he ignored the mayors and the county judges, but the folks at Fox just praised him.
You're talking about Texas, right?
Right, no, I'm saying it's the same thing.
Because we don't have a mandatory mask order in Florida, nor does he intend to issue one.
Even now?
We going back to school, brother. Right
even now?
Even now, the kids are going back to school as scheduled in person, and we do not have a mandatory mask order. So I knew you weren't talking about Florida, because we ain't even doing that.
I mean, this to me shows how idiotic these folks are, and that's the reason why the cases are exploding across the country, because you have these Republican governors who flat out ignore all the medical advice, and they were just so focused on listening to Donald Trump, who is a damn fool, and all these fools who followed him. I kept saying black people on this show. And look, there's some white people who see this show, and they're members of our fan club. I keep saying, don't listen to those fools, because trust me, this thing is going to spike. And now we see it in Florida, Texas, and other states.
It's so unfortunate, and the governor here refuses to admit any kind of mistake. So, he didn't close the beaches in time. He waffled on how to really close restaurants, because let's be honest, 25%, 50% occupancy with social distancing is still a problem if you're trying to avoid this virus. We can't really trust the numbers that are coming out of the nursing homes here in Florida, because there's certainly transparency issues. He doesn't talk to the media really like he should. He doesn't allow certain media outlets to participate in press conferences. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? And so he is doing his best Trump impersonation. I'll tell you, if Trump doesn't win this November, I think our governor's in serious trouble, because he's doing the best imitation he can, and that's very unfortunate.
So what are people doing there? What are they doing, trying? Because, again, you're not getting leadership from the governor.
Right. Well, there's local governments are trying to step in. For example, I live in Hillsborough County in Tampa, and so there's a mandatory local mask order, and there are local rules that are going in place. The Palm Beach County, Broward County, Miami-Dade County school boards have essentially said, we're not sending our kids to full in-person classes as you're trying to schedule them. So there's going to be a clash there, as there should be. You should not have all these problems going on in regular society and sending the kids to in-person school. So there's local leadership that's trying to step into the fray, as it should. The governor has been waffling from the beginning. We were slow to close, fast to open, and look what's happened. And so he sends kind of contradictory orders as well. It's a mess down here, but brother, this is Florida. This is how we do.
Well, but it's not just Florida. It's Florida, it's Mississippi, it's Alabama. I mean, you have all these Mississippi lawmakers refusing to wear masks, and now you got more than 30 who tested positive for coronavirus. They're just walking around, just talking to people, no safe distancing, no mask, and then you got the guy in Florida. Isn't there an official in Florida who absolutely was against masks, and now he's in critical condition with coronavirus?
I think that's us, brother. I don't understand why this has turned political. The CDC, not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party, has said you ought to wear masks. That's the way to stop this. That's the way to be respectful. That's the way to be safe. And people don't tread on me. I'm American. I'm free. This just kind of crazy strain of people are just rebelling against it, and and it's putting the rest of us at risk. And it's just outrageous. Well,
that's clearly what you have here. I just think it's amazing. It's amazing. And in fact, you talked about that. Let me go ahead and try to pull it up here. Because, y'all, I just want to show for the audience what happens when you're stuck on stupid. Here is the governor of Florida demanding his apology.
About how Florida has the absolute best data. So any insinuation otherwise is just typical partisan narrative trying to be spun. And part of the reason is that because you got a lot of people in your profession who waxed poetically for weeks and weeks about how Florida was going to be just like New York. Wait 2 weeks, Florida's going to be next. Just like Italy, wait 2 weeks. Well, hell, we're 8 weeks away from that, and it hasn't happened. Not only do we have a lower death rate, well, we have way lower deaths generally, We have a lower death rate than the Acela Corridor, D.C., everyone up there. We have a lower death rate than the Midwest, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. But even in our region, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida has the lower death rate. And I was the #1 landing spot from tens of thousands of people leaving the #1 hot zone in the world to come to my state. So we've succeeded, and I think that people just don't want to recognize it because it challenges their narrative, it challenges their assumption, so they got to try to find a boogeyman. Maybe it's that there are black helicopters circling the Department of Health. If you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you.
Last question.
I don't even know. I tell you what, though, he talking like a man that got all the spades in his hand back then, wasn't he? And now he'll barely even discuss this, but that's what we're dealing with. That is the man we're dealing with that wants that kind of apology and gives those kind of press conferences, and now we leading the country. That's what we got down here.
Sean Shaw, we certainly appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Ain't that special, Julian? Just, he was wagging his finger. He was indignant. How dare you?
The governor of Florida, as you said, he's a hot monkey fool. And he's been one from the beginning. We've seen the numbers spike after Memorial Day, and they've gone up even more. And he just doesn't want to deal with it. He, as you said, it was a great remark. It's the best Trump imitation that we've seen in a while. But, the sad thing, Roland, is that even California, where Gavin Newsom dotted the I's, crossed the T's, did everything right with London Breed, they closed San Francisco down earlier than just about anybody else. You still are seeing a spike in California. This virus is something that we can't contain. It's containing us because we haven't put the resources into it. 45 loves to brag about American exceptionalism. Well, how is Italy? How are all these other countries with fewer resources than us doing so much better than we are? And how can we contemplate sending young people to school when we haven't sent any resources to these schools so they can actually really socially distance? I've been to classrooms, I speak at a lot of schools, where the classroom is hot full, is completely full, not a room for another kid. So how are you going to manage that? I think they should lease space, if they're going to go back to school, lease spaces at church basements and other places to make sure young people can have social distance. But, you have these folks who just are like, oh, well, it's going to go away. DeSantis is a fool, but then he's not the only fool out there.
Kelly, bottom line is, it's hilarious watching this dude wag his finger and be so indignant. And what people don't understand, there is a lag. That took place in May. They say there's a 6 to 8 week lag when somebody contracts it, then all of a sudden shows symptoms, gets sick, has to go to the hospital, dies. It's now July, 14th? This is what, that was around May 25th, something like that.
I just don't understand why this is an issue, to put a cloth over your face and stay 6 feet away from me, at least. It should not be this hard. It also shouldn't be hard to just listen to scientists. Like, we listen to our doctors when they tell us that we have the flu or that we have a cold or that little skin tag, whatever, needs to go somewhere. Like, I just don't understand how this became a liberty issue. I wish that, as Black folk, we had the mentality of something so minor being an infringement upon our liberty, because we actually know what infringing upon our liberties are. But the fact that these people actually think that putting something over your face to save you is infringing upon you, that doesn't make any sense to me. And what's even more scary to me than that is, it's July 14th. And things still aren't closed down there and elsewhere. What's going to happen in September? What's going to happen around Christmas when the flu season also starts up? So it's just this ongoing, just just baffling to me about how and why people just don't listen, why and how people just don't wear a mask, social distance. It's not a conspiracy to save your life. And if it is, then what? I don't get it.
Jason, again, it's laughable to again. This video was posted on May 20th. This is July 14th. Almost 8 weeks later. I got to play it again, Jason. Listen to him wag his finger at it. It's 8 weeks later and it hasn't happened. Watch this.
Our data is available. Our data is transparent. In fact, Dr. Birx has talked multiple times about how Florida has the absolute best data. So any insinuation otherwise is just typical partisan narrative trying to be spun. And part of the reason is that because you got a lot of people in your profession who waxed poetically for weeks and weeks about how Florida was going to be just like New York. Wait 2 weeks, Florida's going to be next. Just like Italy, wait 2 weeks. Well, hell, we're 8 weeks away from that, and it hasn't happened. Not only do we have a lower death rate, well, we have way lower deaths generally. We have a lower death rate than the Acela corridor, D.C., everyone up there. We have a lower death rate than the Midwest, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. But even in our region, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida has the lower death rate. And I was the #1 landing spot from tens of thousands of people leaving the #1 hot zone in the world to come to my state. So we've succeeded, and I think that people just don't want to recognize it because it challenges their narrative, it challenges their assumption, so they got to try to find a boogeyman. Maybe it's that there are black helicopters circling the Department of Health. If you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you.
Last question.
I was the #1 landing spot. Man. You were.
That is hilarious, how indignant he was with the whole thing. Before I even say anything, let me just say that Pence needs to spend more time in Florida because he looks like he needs some sun. That guy is like...
Little pasty.
Yeah, he was pasty. He looked like chalk. But I'll also say that, Miami-Dade is the epicenter of the virus right now. So all of the things that the right wing was saying, this is going to disappear, warm weather gets rid of it. I don't think it gets much warmer in the United States than Miami-Dade or Arizona, two of the hot spots. So DeSantis and Ducey have failed the people of their states, and not to mention Governor Abbott and many other governors, but those three in particular. And we've seen also people who are just not listening to their governors, like what you found in California with Governor Gavin Newsom, who's actually tried to do some of the right things, but people aren't listening, and that's why you get these spikes. People need to listen to public health professionals like Dr. Fauci. Instead, they want to play politics and attack Dr. Fauci, attack the research, and maybe then our children could go to school, because I can tell you right now, I damn sure want my kids to go to school. Good Lord. I'm so ready for them to get out of my house and go to school. But because people aren't listening, because like Kelly said, they won't put a mask over their face. They say they can't breathe. And let me tell you something. If you can't breathe with a mask on your face, then you probably already have it. Or you've got some other breathing issue, because a mask is not that difficult to breathe in. We really need better leadership in these states. I'm really waiting for November when we can get guys like, DeSantis. Well, I don't know if DeSantis is up for re-election. I'm not certain, but probably not. I think he's got 2 more years. But, the Abbotts and the Duceys and all these guys, they've got to, get out. It's, the public health is much more important than the economy.
Well, and again, what you're dealing with the people, like, go to my iPad, watch this here. This is Pence.
But to be very clear, we don't want CDC guidance to be a reason why people don't reopen their schools. We're going to respect whatever decisions are made on campuses like this. But to be very clear,
that's actually kind of what they're following. Again, these people are idiots. They're idiots, and I'm telling y'all, I'm telling you right now, That was what was in one of those Western states. 3 teachers. They go back. All 3 get coronavirus. One of them is dead. These are teachers. When you start talking about teachers, administrators, janitors, support staff, secretary, and children, and if you do not have rigorous protocols in place when it comes to not just testing, somebody asked the question a week ago on the show, what happens if a teacher falls sick in the classroom? What do? Do we send a substitute? Do we quarantine the whole class? What do? See, all these different things. And so I'm telling you right now, these people, it's going to happen. You're going to see, I'm going to predict it now, you're going to see massive outbreaks of coronavirus in schools. And you know what they're going to do? The exact same thing those fools did in Florida. They reopened the bars. All these folks went to the bars, got drunk. They had to shut them all down because coronavirus spiked. That's what's going to happen. But we got the so-called smart people, the Ron DeSantis of the world and Mike Pence and Donald Trump, who they rather trash Dr. Fauci and trash the executive.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, Seek is a Black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel, a sister from Ghana. She is, of course, the inventor of these 2 devices here. One of them is a virtual reality headset, which basically allows for you to pop your phone, your Android or your Apple phone, right into here and allows you to see the content on their website, Seek.com, in virtual reality. You also can look at other videos on YouTube that are 360-degree videos. And so this headset is available on the website. Also, their headphones, these 360-degree 4D headphones right here, which also comes with the wired cable, also microphone jack as well. You got Bluetooth. You can use this for gaming if you want to, music, videos, you name it. Fantastic sound as well. A sister, she sent me a tweet. She said, why didn't I tell her about the bass in these headphones? Because she said that she has a bass head in her house. And so her son decided to grab her headphones. I said, no, boo, tell your son to go buy his own. If you want to get these products, again, supporting Black-owned businesses that support this show, go to Seek.com. Use this promo code RM. You see it right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. And so when you buy their products, you also are supporting Roland Martin Unfiltered. So we certainly appreciate that with the folks at Seek.com, Seek.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. As of today, there are 2.2 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States. 27,000 of those cases are new. 119,923 people have died from the disease. 308 of those deaths are new. Now, of course, among the many ignorant remarks made by Donald Trump at his rally on Saturday, watch this one.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on. We got tests. We got to know.
Now, after the rally, the Trump campaign said, we were just joking. Eugene, who the hell jokes about something that has killed nearly 120,000 Americans?
That's not a joking matter. And this is coming from the alleged most pro-life president ever, right? The one that now can account for 122,000 deaths, which very well may go up to 200,000 deaths by the time the election rolls around here. You don't joke about something like that, and then you also don't lie about it. President Trump and Vice President Pence were asking the governors to go out and lie and say, oh, the issue is that we're doing more testing, so the rates are going up. But that doesn't account for the hospitalization rates or the death rates. And so the thing is this. When Donald Trump asks Black America, what do you have to lose? It's literally your life. Literally, when it comes to COVID, when it comes to the racial tension in the country right now, it's literally your life. Our community is more susceptible to it and has a disproportionate death rate. And look, and the thing is this, it could have been preventable. They could have came out in March and in February, March said, hey, everybody mask up. They could have in February, March, started deploying tests and figuring out, where to procure them and get them out there to help save lives. But what this president did was he discounted the virus, tried to racialize it. And then on top of that, delayed his response to it. And now we're seeing 122,000 deaths. And he thinks it's okay to get up at a rally and joke about it and joke about the slowing down because that's what he thinks helps him politically. I mean, that should be a call to arms for every single person to make sure they vote in November.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
The government's initial response to the pandemic has cost American lives.
Trump himself ignored warnings about the virus, making the U.S. slow to react.
Dr. Anthony Fauci admits government inaction may have cost American lives. If we would have done more sooner, more people would have lived.
Started mitigation earlier, you could have saved lives. There was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then.
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
Dr. Ebony Hilton, that surely has to piss you off that this man stood there and then came back and said, oh, no, I was joking.
Right. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And even when he says, this whole slow the testing down, yes, we performed 28 million tests in the United States, but that all depends on how many people you actually have living in your country. So we have 320 million people living in the United States. So we compare that to how we rank worldwide. We rank 26 as far as how many tests we've tested per million people. So you can't clap for yourself if you're 26 in the world.
Well, again, but not only that, the reality is he has previously said on numerous occasions that, we keep having these numbers showing an increase because we keep testing. That's the point of testing. Okay, right. D.O. Hughley now knows he's walking around with COVID-19. Right. That's why you test.
Right, exactly. And like I said, on Twitter, I wish D.L. Hughley the absolute best. And I also wish that everyone in the audience to go get tested for COVID-19 now. They also need to self-isolate. Like I said, we're 26 in the world as far as testing, but we are actually 9th in the world as far as how many people per 1 million people that we've had die from COVID-19. We're number 1 in the world for total number of cases of COVID-19 and total number of deaths for COVID-19. But Donald Trump, we already know that he doesn't make sense when he talks every day, but particularly when you're talking about in a pandemic that you're testing too many people and that you should slow down. I think the example he gave was that a 10-year-old had the sniffles, that they don't need to get tested. And I'm like, you're talking about a 10-year-old kid. He just has no bottom.
Well, again, though, but see, remember early on, remember when he did not want the folks coming off the cruise ship because he said that would increase our numbers of positive tests in the country. He doesn't want to see the bad numbers. And so now, I was just joking. No, I don't think he was joking. I think he absolutely put the clamps on it. That's why we barely seen Dr. Birx. That's why we barely seen Dr. Fauci. That's why you don't have daily reports going on. That's why Mike Pence is out there downplaying what's going on. And what's happening? Why am I weighing Houston strong? Because my people in Houston and my folks in my native city All of a sudden, hospitals in Houston are telling doctors, discharge as many people as possible to free those beds up. The governor of Texas, all of a sudden, the guy who wants to open everything up, now says he's alarmed by the number increases. It's because of idiots like you, Greg Abbott. We're so insistent on ignoring people like Mayor Sylvester Turner of Houston, ignoring the mayor of Dallas, and county judges who were saying, slow this down, we're not ready. And now all of a sudden, numbers are going up.
And Texas is not going to be alone because, you know, in America, we like to stick together. We're united. So they're going to be united with Florida. They're going to be united with Arizona. They're going to be united with South Carolina. All those states have at least 300 to 600% increase in their number of cases since opening up their economy. And so we talk about this time and time again. You can't open up an economy against a virus of which you have no strategy, because biology will always win against economy. It does not care if you make $1 or not. And so until we have testing, tracing, and treatment in place, we're going to be in this constant battle of, did we open too soon? And now what do we do? And so we're seeing in Miami, they're already talking about having to close back down. In Houston, they're going to have to start closing back down. This is not going to be a unique situation. People are going to die in droves because we're just not ready.
This is an interview today with Joe St. George of Scripps Television at the White House, where he specifically asked Trump. Now, remember, he made the comment on Saturday. His aides came back and said, oh, no, he was joking. They went out on national television. But here is Trump answering the question. Listen very closely.
On Saturday night, you said that you told your staff to slow the testing down to improve the numbers. Does that mean someone watching this right now on their local news is not going to get a test because you asked your staff?
We do more testing than any country in the world by far, 25 million tests. Other countries do 1 million. Every time you do a test, as you do more tests, it shows more and more cases. So we're so far advanced, both in terms of the quality and the amount. And we're doing all these tests, and it shows cases. If other countries aren't doing, or if we did slow it down, we wouldn't show nearly as many cases. You're showing people that are asymptomatic. You're showing people that have very little problem. You're showing young people that don't have a problem. But we're doing so much testing, 25 million tests. Nobody thought that was possible.
But did you ask to slow it down?
If it did slow down, frankly, I think we're way ahead of ourselves, if you want to know the truth. We've done too good a job, because every time we go up with 25 million tests, you're going to find more people. So then they say, oh, we have more cases in the United States. The reason we have more cases because we do more testing than any other country by far.
Ebony, did you hear an answer?
I heard him say that we're doing too good of a job. And I don't, on what day ended in a Y? I mean, this is when I say that there truly does need to be a 25th Amendment, because we're into dangerous territory of where this is negligence. It's not even negligence. This is criminal activity of where you are intentionally trying to slow down a process by which your citizens are depending to live and not spread a virus to other citizens within the United States. That makes it's like bioterrorism on your own people. So I need whoever does the 25th Amendment to do that part, so we can do our job in the hospital, which is to try to keep as many people alive as possible. And right now we're losing that battle, and it's unnecessary.
I'm going to pull in my panel here. Mustafa, when you see what's going on here, again, what's happening in Texas, in Louisiana, in Alabama, we're seeing the cases in Florida. People need to understand that this thing is real. When I look at those photos with that woman who had a double lung transplant, Mustafa, and I see that COVID lung, I'm going, hey, y'all can go to hell with all this group get together and trying to hop on planes, flying everywhere. This is still a deadly virus.
It's extremely deadly. But, you know, the problem is that the president likes to create these false narratives. You know, he built his career on being a marketer, if you really understand how he's been able to have whatever level of success that he's had. And that's because he frames out the narrative. So if he thinks if he can continue to tell people that everything is okay, if he continues to not wear masks, which sends a message across the country that, well, if the president isn't wearing one and many of the people who are part of his cabinet aren't, then that must mean that everyday Joe or everyday Connie, then it must be okay for me to continue to, emulate this type of behavior. And for me, I'm very clear. He is responsible for the 100,000 plus lives that have been lost. And he's also responsible for the trillions of dollars that have been a part of that loss. And I don't know why folks don't call it out, because lots of times if you talk to people about their pocketbooks, that may sometimes get their attention, unfortunately, before actually focusing on all the lives that have been lost, which is, of course, where we should first be focusing.
Avis, this is June. July 4th is coming up. And the reality is this, Avis, people are going to congregate. And look, we saw the same thing when people out there protesting. I totally understood, Avis, why they were protesting, but was a huge fear in terms of what's going to happen when all of a sudden these folks come back with these positive tests.
I know. It's so disturbing and frustrating when I go out and I see people acting like this thing is over. I'm like, it isn't, okay? I do feel fortunate living in Virginia that our governor has taken responsibility with ensuring and mandating that people wear masks when they are out in public, when they are in stores. I mean, all the stores have a sign on the door. Before you come in, you must put on a mask because they are responsible. We're responsible here because we, thank God, have a governor who is responsible. But the problem is that when you don't have a president who exhibits that level of leadership, you have a great level of variance across the nation in terms of what governors actually are looking out for the health of their citizens and what governors are not. And that is disturbing. I don't know how many times I've said on this show, and I think Trump just proved it the other day, that he was intentionally not testing or trying to reduce the level of testing specifically to suppress the numbers. And he has admitted that himself. It was out of his mouth. Listen to what he said. He said what he meant. He meant what he said. It was not a joke. And the sad thing is he does not care when people die as a result.
Eugene, this is about re-election. Pure and simple. This is about Donald Trump focusing on re-election, and he does not care if Americans die.
He doesn't. It's the only thing that matters. This is what matters from day one. That's what matters now. It's sad. Lives are being lost. And you're seeing, a lot of the Sun Belt governors follow his lead. You're seeing record numbers in Florida and record numbers in Georgia, record numbers in Arizona, when you don't need to, when lives don't need to necessarily be lost. But all of this is about Donald Trump getting reelected. He needs the economy to bounce back somehow, some way, to help spar his reelection. But if that Tulsa rally this weekend was any indicator of what's to come, if he can't pack out a rally in the middle of Oklahoma, then I think that Joe Biden might have a good day in November.
Ebony, look, you and I talk a lot, we text a lot, and the bottom line is, you're out here working damn near 7 days a week. I mean, you're working your job, and all of a sudden you're going out here trying to test people on the weekends, traveling all around the state of Virginia. And this is where you need to have politicians who are taking this thing seriously. But what you have is you have Republican governors who are so desperate to follow the lead of Donald Trump and keep following these crazy people who go, hey, what's the big deal, y'all? This is no biggie. And then they go into these stores. I'm trying to find the video. Somebody sent it to me of this guy who literally was about to fight Walmart workers because they said, you got to put a mask on. I mean, These people are absolutely out of their mind because they're like, I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask. Folks are dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I agree. I am very grateful that I am living in the state of Virginia. Governor Northam has been fantastic. He actually hired the first chief diversity officer, Dr. Underwood, to look at health equity amongst Black and brown communities, those are lower socioeconomic status, LGBT communities, the targeted vulnerable populations. He said, let's have a whole office dedicated to see what we can do to make sure we keep Virginians as safe and healthy as possible, which should be the ideal and goal for every state and every governor. But what we're seeing is that you literally can see where are the higher cases and what is the reopening strategy. And you can tell if that's a Democratic ran state or a Republican-ran state, and that is absolutely insane. But it shows the American people what we need to do, which is in November, we have to vote these people out because they are voting along party lines and not along common sense. I mean, you don't even need scientific knowledge for this. It's just common sense.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Seek.com with a partnership with them, where, of course, Mary Spiel, she's the founder of Seek.com. She is the inventor of these 360-degree 4D headphones. Unbelievable sound. Folks, you can use this for gaming. You can also, of course, with music, videos, you name it. And so what's great about this is that the sound actually, so when you're listening, it literally travels all around your head as opposed to normal headphones. And so I really, really do like these listening to music. Like I say, they have a microphone that you can attach to it, but you can use this when you're playing video games. And so they have a partnership with them. So if you want to buy these headphones, you go to Seek.com, but use this promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020 to actually join. So please take advantage of that. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. And I want to bring in Dr. Idris Jamal Abdur-Rahman with the Women's Healthcare Group of Illinois. Dr. Abdur-Rahman, this is the point here which is critically important. You can't simply reduce this to listen to your doctor about your health. Because when you're talking about this coronavirus epidemic, you have one hand, you heard Malik talk about PPE. Well, that's where Donald Trump and the federal government plays a role because you need to be able to properly look at in terms of what do we have in terms of available PPE. Donald Trump kept lying to the public by saying, "Oh, it was left barren," when in fact a report came out today showing there were 16,000 ventilators that were actually in the federal stockpile. And so you can't say, Doc, don't listen to Donald Trump when if you are the president and you are responsible for how the federal government responds to this in getting out PPE to states, those states getting them to hospitals and ventilators and testing, if you are denying the reality of all of this from the beginning, then all of that ends up being a problem.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, what people don't understand when COVID first hit the scene, it's called the novel coronavirus for a reason. It's novel. We don't know much about it. But you know, being on the front line was frightening. Yes, as a physician, as a healthcare provider, I know kind of what to do. Again, it's novel, so we don't know everything. But you need support. No one person can do this alone. And that support has to come from on high. We literally, we were in the hospital with COVID-positive patients wearing ponchos from Six Flags. They were kind enough to donate it. Thank you very much, Six Flags. But that was not proper PPE. We were wearing the same N95 masks for months. That, again, is not proper PPE. That is not the proper way to wear PPE. We did not have the guidance that we needed from the top. And without that, no matter what you do or don't know, if you don't have the materials that you need, if you don't have the equipment that you need, you cannot take proper care of patients and you cannot take care of yourself. And I think that is the fallacy in saying that, you know, don't listen to the president, listen to your doctor. That's true, of course, listen to your doctor. But being real, you're going to be in the room with your doctor for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, whereas the president has that bully pulpit. He's going to be on Twitter. He's going to be on the news saying the nonsense that he says 24/7. And so the discussions I have with patients are discussions I shouldn't even have. We should all come with an understanding that this is a virus, this is highly contagious, this is dangerous. We should all be there, and then we can move from that on to what we need to do. But when your first discussion with the patient is, does this really exist? Is this a hoax? Is this something that is being created? You don't really have the time that you need to actually take proper care of that patient when their knowledge base is starting so far behind. So yeah, absolutely. The president is a president. He's not a doctor. But the president is somebody that sets the tone. And we would hope he would be somebody who would be getting information from doctors, listening to that information, and then passing it along to the American people, because he can reach way more people than any one physician can.
And when you also are talking about when you have someone who openly has disdain for masks, who will tell journalists, hey, take it off, don't worry about the person next to you is not concerned about it. You're going, okay, you do know that's the one thing that we're not supposed to be doing. And again, Doc, surely it has to anger you to see him at a rally being flippant about a virus that has killed 120,000 people.
You know, I have to tell you, Roland, there were so many days when I was almost in tears, because it is truly like a tale of two Americas. Like, there are people that seem to think that this does not really exist, or it's not as bad as you think it is. I'm telling you, in my hospital, I'm in the northern suburbs of Chicago, we have an ICU that has 26 or 30 beds. There was a point in March, April, and May when our ICU was full, and we had not one, not two, but 3 overflow areas that were full. And these were patients, like, literally, I was on call one Saturday night, and I literally started crying in the call room because I heard code blue, code blue, code blue, 5 code blues in one night. And yeah, when people pretend like this is not something that's serious, it absolutely is. And it's not just older people that become ill. Middle-aged people, younger people become ill. But let's just say it were only older people that become ill. I mean, we can't just sacrifice people. We can't just sacrifice people and pretend like they're not important in society. So yes, when you see Donald Trump not wearing a mask, not only encouraging people to not wear masks, but bullying people that wear masks, it is infuriating, because, again, people can say, oh, he's not a doctor, he's the president, but for better or for worse, people look to their president as a leader. And it is infuriating when the science is so clear. This is a virus. It is spread through respiratory secretions, from your mouth, from your nose. Wearing a mask will prevent 90+% of that transmission. And then to not only not wear a mask, but then squeeze people into these arenas where they're yelling and screaming and hollering on top of each other. It is, you know, I mean, in one sense, it's mind-blowing. I was talking to my wife, like, 3.5 years ago, this would have been mind-blowing. Now it's just like, this is Donald Trump doing what Donald Trump does, you know, and that's kind of a sad state to be in as well. But yeah, it is, as a physician, it is absolutely infuriating that he is allowed to get away with this, and the sycophants that support him. It's mind-numbing. It truly is. Well, it is certainly difficult, I'm sure, for those first responders, the people who are on the front lines who are trying to care for people, not having enough PPE, not all those months having to wear the same mask weeks at a time, even though that violated all medical protocols. And again, that's what happens when you don't take this thing seriously. And let's not forget, Donald Trump said, oh, this is just one person from China. Then it was, oh, we have 15 cases, we'll be soon down to 0. Oh, you have Larry Kudlow, who said, oh, no, we've got this as completely under control, as airtight as possibly can. And now, June 23rd, 120,000 people are dead, and we're seeing dramatic increases in Texas, in California, in Florida, in other states. This is not going away. So it would be nice if Donald Trump could take it seriously. Dr. Abdul Rahman, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Have those headphones we showed you, plus that virtual reality headset. This is a 360-degree 4D headphones. Amazing sound, folks. If you want to actually get these, all you got to do is simply go to seek.com, CEEK.com, and then you can use the promo code right there. It says RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. A sister, she actually created that, Mary Spiel. She is the creator of this, and so just go to seek.com, use the promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered?
Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. What we're seeing, folks, are tremendous spikes all across the country. We are seeing states, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, report record cases around this nation. We also hear that Dr. Anthony Fauci, for 2 months, hasn't had any conversation with Donald Trump, briefed him at all. What the hell is the White House doing? Now, while that's going on, the White House doesn't even really want to pay any attention. They are trying to rush people, rush students back to the classrooms. But the problem is teachers are going to be reporting in a couple of weeks. I know this. My sister, her daughter, teachers. Is it safe for teachers to be going back to the classroom? Is it safe for students to be in the classes? Now, many businesses and entities have had to adapt to this, but what is going to happen when it comes to our children? Now, the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Sally Goza, says she is concerned that schools may be pressured into reopening too quickly. Another concern is the impact of young people being out of school for so long. Joining us right now is Congresswoman Johanna Hayes of Connecticut, who's a teacher and on the House Committee on Education and Labor. Congresswoman, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thanks, Roland. Good to see you.
So, my brother used to teach. My sister is a teacher. My other sister is a teacher, and now her daughter's a teacher. So, I've got parents who are working polls in Texas, and folks are out there in public. You've got an administration who is trying to rush folks back into the classroom. You had Senator Rand Paul, when he was questioning Dr. Fauci, was going, what's the big deal? Why can't kids go back to school? You've got Texas Senator John Cornyn. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm native of Texas. My senator, he's an idiot by saying, we don't know if kids can get COVID-19 when you've got 7,000 kids who've gotten coronavirus in Florida. How concerned are you that this nation is about to send our children into a minefield, and not just them, but teachers, administrators, personnel, support staff? Are we actually ready?
Roland, I'm very concerned about everything you just described, because I know that so many of my colleagues, superintendents, that are going to have to stand in front of teachers and say to them, I can't guarantee that this is safe. And then those teachers in turn are going to have to stand in front of children. I mean, the thing is, people think that it's just about geography, that kids will go back to school and continue to learn. If kids are afraid, if kids are not healthy, if their families are sick, they will not learn. I, like everyone else, would like for kids to go back to school. My daughter's a teacher, but that conversation should start with, yes, we want to reopen schools, but then it should end with, and we are going to invest adequate funding to make sure that we hit all of the benchmarks to make sure people are safe. I think it's unconscionable that we have replenished PPP loans 3 times to make sure that small businesses were undergirded, and we can't make the same types of investments in schools. We're going to need at least $200 billion to do this. You know, businesses have a phased-in reopening, but we expect kids to go back when we don't have enough data to say how this virus interacts with children.
Well, not only that, is there an actual process? I remember a couple of months ago, I showed a video of what a particular Chinese school did. Parents dropped the kid off. They came in, temperature check. They also sprayed something on their shoes, on their feet. They also then sprayed their whole body. Then also, so there was like this whole process. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I got twin nieces. And we've gotten an email where they've laid out, and I'm sort of like, okay. The email said essentially that they'll be in school twice a week. They have to walk on one side of the hallway, safe distance. And I'm still going, really?
You're right. Many of these plans, I mean, my own state put out a 50-page plan, and I looked at the plans from many other states, and you're left with more questions than answers. Most of our schools don't have adequate ventilation. I mean, I don't know when the last time someone has been in a school, but we have buildings that are 50 years old that don't have ventilation, that don't have windows that open. You know, FEMA has already said that they are not prioritizing school districts or purchasing PPE for them. So districts will be competing in the market for PPE, for masks and whatever else they need. And most of that stuff is already on back order. We're only a couple weeks out. There still is no national strategy. And then I think we cannot overlook the fact that the communities that were hit the hardest by COVID, our urban communities, our Title I districts, our 100% free and reduced lunch districts, are going to be the same communities that struggle to reopen because they don't have the resources to do it on their own. I mean, Congress allocated, I think it was about $13 billion in the CARES Act. There's state and local municipality funding in the HEROES Act. And then we just did the Moving Forward Act to help with school infrastructure. But I think there needs to be emergency intervention right now, where there's a standalone bill with standalone funding with national guidelines coming from the Department of Education. This has been politicized, and now teachers and parents have to make a choice on the backs of their children to jumpstart the economy and return us to normal. We cannot return to normal until we are healthy again.
Again, as I begin to just to look at this whole deal, parents are obviously worried because they're dealing with the fact that, will my child get behind? The online learning is not equal. I know of a suburban school district in Houston. They're going to be 100% online. They have the resources for laptops, for pads. They have. I mean, that's a different environment. I remember reading a story a couple of months ago in Chicago, the high number of children tracking who were not even logging on. Mm-hmm. They were able to see how many of them, they weren't even logging on. And so, again, you're now talking about not 2 or 3 months. We're not talking about a school year. That might be the case for 9 months.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's part of my challenge, because back in February when we were first discussing what might happen, and then in March when there was a national conversation, state after state deciding to shut down, schools were looked at as places for babysitters so parents could work, or making sure that kids eat, or, you know, they had to have a safe space. And now we're talking about we need to reopen because they're lonely. All of those things are definitely societal problems, and I'm glad that we're having a national conversation about the achievement gap and kids missing education time, but to not discuss their health. So for the same doctors that are saying kids are lonely and they need to get back, they should be demanding that we have the funding so that we have trauma-informed counselors to meet them when they return from the most traumatic experience in their life. So yes, I agree with everyone that kids need to go back to school, but the purpose of school is the academics. All of these other societal problems, we need to deal with those as well. We need to stabilize childcare. We need to make sure that families are food secure, but not send kids back to school because we want to make sure all of those things happen when we cannot guarantee their safety. And then to ask teachers to have to make that choice. And every plan that I've read, there's no mention of, if a faculty member says I'm feeling symptoms and I want to get tested, can I get tested? Most of that is you need to do that on your own. So there's so many issues that we are not even addressing.
Wait. I'm sorry, roll back. Are you saying, hold on, let's roll that back.
Yeah.
That if in the middle of teaching, if all of a sudden a teacher says, I'm not feeling well, they don't have protocols in place to test the teacher on site?
Right. These are state by state issues, but in my state particular, and this is a question that I've asked my commissioner, my governor, and every superintendent I talk to, there is no plan for universal testing. And my next question was, if I'm a custodian or a secretary or a paraprofessional or a teacher or anyone in the building, and I say, I'm having symptoms, I would like to get tested, it is incumbent upon the employee to find community-based testing or something else. It's not seen as an occupational exposure. We don't know enough about this virus, and we are sending our teachers almost into battle without any gear, without, any covering, and that's just not fair. A month ago, my colleagues are talking about the Herculean efforts that teachers were making, and now the conversation has shifted to, oh, they're just lazy and they don't want to go back. And I'm sick and tired of people using teachers as the scapegoat and this binary choice where, they're presented as martyrs, where if you're not doing this, then you don't care about kids. I think it's just the opposite. Teachers know better, and they do care about kids, and they know that they can't guarantee the safety of these children. And when the Secretary of Education comes out and says everything from riding a bike to going up in a space shuttle, how do you expect for teachers to fall in line behind a message like that?
Well, not only that, we're not just talking about children. And I think that's what people understand. You're talking about children, teachers, administrators, support staff, and
faculty, bus drivers, everyone.
Right. And
what are you going to do when a parent wants to come into the school? What are you going to do? College campuses are shutting down or saying they're not letting their freshmen in. A high school senior is only a couple months removed from a college freshman. What's the difference? What are you going to do when you have a senior in high school who refuses to wear a mask? And then this leads into discipline issues. These are all of the scenarios that I've encountered on a good year. And nobody's factoring these in the middle of a pandemic. And it is not okay.
Well, now you also have the other issue, and that is if, as an adult, if I have to self-quarantine for 14 days, I can do that. A kid can't self-quarantine. That kid is still going to be interacting with that parent during that period.
There are so many issues here, Roland. I mean, I lived with my grandma. I was raised by my grandmother when I was going to school, and she had so many underlying health issues. What are we going to do with the kids who have medically fragile people in their families? My husband had COVID-19, and when he first presented, he didn't have any symptoms. He didn't have a fever. We just heard Keisha Lance Bottom say the same thing. So when you have kids in these communal settings, staff coming and going, and in most of our district, staff don't live in the community. They're commuting back and forth. This is not how we contain this virus. And I don't want to appear as if I don't want kids to go back to school. The number one indicator the number one in-school indicator for student success is the relationship they have with their teachers, effective teachers in front of students. But to do that when we can't guarantee their safety, just to return to normal and jumpstart the economy, and now as a part of a political game that's being played, Roland, in the worst possible scenario, I don't want to be sitting here with you in 6 months having this conversation saying we made a mistake. We moved too fast. And when it comes to our children, we should spare no expense. We should not, take any chances and use them as an experiment.
All right. Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
All right, folks, let's go to my panel here. I want to talk to them. Rob Richardson, host Disruption Now podcast, and also Amisha Cross, political analyst and Democratic strategist. Rob, this is serious in that we are seeing, again, Texas and Florida, where these numbers are just really, really increasing. I really think we've got to understand what's about to happen. I mean, this is scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, we have to actually pay attention to data, which a lot of these politicians and people in power don't like data. If you look at other nations, we are exceptional now. We're not exceptional in the way we want to be, but we're exceptional in the fact that we can't get this under control because we just don't want to follow data. We want to follow whatever this idiot in the White House is saying. So you have people doing stupid things and just rebelling against social distancing, rebelling against putting on a mask, rebelling against things that work. Science works. So right now you are seeing that happening. And so this is not surprising. And my hope is that we actually get some control and people realize that we have to take steps. We're not through this. And in fact, it's getting much worse because we didn't do the things we need to do on the front end.
Amisha.
I absolutely agree with what Rob just said. We are right now a ship without a captain. We are a leaderless nation. And for all intents and purposes, we've watched our COVID-19 response fall apart because of it. Not only did this president ignore the fact that COVID-19 was a threat, he thought it could be contained to China. He also, instead of giving any authorization or any real leadership from the White House, he decided to leave things up to the states. And not because he had great faith in the states, but because he didn't want any blowback on himself. And even when he told the states that it was up to them to decide when they would be ready to reopen and what their next steps would be, he took to Twitter to call out states who decided that they were going to actually follow CDC guidelines and enforce social distancing, require masks. This has been a president from day one who has decided to go against and not believe in science. And now we're seeing the fruits of that ignorance. We're seeing the fruits of that illegitimacy, and our nation is suffering because of it. And the world is watching us. This is the first time in America's history where we've seen countries in Europe, we've seen countries in multiple places decide that they don't even want Americans to travel there. That is not something that we do as America. That's not something we've seen. And this is President Trump's legacy, someone who doesn't know what he's doing and is basically taking this country in the wrong direction. And I'm afraid that, leading into 2020 in the election, we're going to see a lot more devastating things come out of COVID-19, especially as we walk into the fall months where the flu season is going to tick up and we're going to be battling two things at once.
Michael, go ahead.
No, I'll just say very quickly, this has also been, COVID-19 has been less of a disruptor. It's been a disruptor in the short term, and it's accelerated long-term trends. So when you talk about just like the Congresswoman talked about, when you talk about access to broadband, which we always needed and communities didn't have, now that we don't have that, it's accelerating the inequalities that we already see. The fact that we don't have universal pre-K, other nations have that. That's another reason why they were able to handle this. And you look at our healthcare system, it's a for-profit system that incentivizes not actually giving people access to healthcare. These things are now crippling us and really preventing us from being able to respond. So all of these things are really affecting this in a really serious way. So it's going to be a long road.
Michael Brown, former vice chair at DNC Finance Committee. The reason I think this is so different is that when we talk about businesses shutting down, we're dealing with adults who can make independent decisions when it comes to self-quarantine, when it comes to how careful they are. Look, I don't have biological children, but my wife and I have raised 6 of my nieces from a year and a half all the way up to being in their 20s. We got twin nieces right now who are 16. I'm sorry, they don't think the same way as adults, how decisions are made. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm very leery of sending them into a school situation because I'm not sure how other children will be dealing with social distancing, things along those lines. I know what I can control here in my workspace. I don't necessarily have the same thing when I talk about my nieces.
Well, I have 3 sons, and 2 of which are in college, and I just can't imagine how I have no faith in them that they will say social distance on campus. How are we expecting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old young people there is no way they're going to be able to do this properly without obviously some consequences. We hope it doesn't happen, but the question is, it could. And then what's concerning, Roland, and you and I have talked about this, I know everything, whether it's a disease, whether it's a tax cut, it's all political. And frankly, I'm not sure the Senate was in play before COVID-19 hit. This president, 45, has messed us up so much that I think he's put the Senate in play. More than in play, I think actually the Senate not just flips, but flips significantly by possibly 5 or 6 seats. Because Arizona's gone. You can forget that. Cory Gardner's finished. And so Willis is probably finished. So I just don't know how you keep the Senate. And because these enablers have let him deal with this disease and this crisis the way he has, he's hurt them too.
Well, I certainly get the whole politics of it. I think, again, what you're dealing right now is fear. And you're dealing with real fear of a lot of parents out there. And I'm telling them, Misha, all it's going to take is for 30, 40, 50 cases in a school, and you're going to have pandemonium of parents pulling their kids out, and then what do you do?
And Roland, you're right. And the issue is we've already seen those numbers. We've seen them in early childhood early child care centers and pre-K centers, particularly in the South. We've seen where there have been 70 plus staff members who got sick, and for these child care centers that reopened, they had to immediately close back down and parents pull their children out. That's at the ECE level. At ECE, most centers don't have hundreds of students. When we're talking about your elementary school, middle school, and high school, they definitely do. That means you have to reduce class sizes. Right now, your average class size is 25 to 30 students. CDC guidelines tell us 15 or less. So that means you have to have space in your school building that accommodates that. It means you have to split up your teachers. It means you have to stagger schedules. It means that you have to be concerned about the paraprofessionals, the teachers who may themselves already be more vulnerable. It means the cafeteria workers, where are these kids going to eat, because no longer can we house them in a cafeteria room eating at the same time for lunch. What do you do when you can't have them on buses together? How are we going to make this work? And school districts and teachers have been grappling with this for months. And I get it, as you spoke earlier, that the online learning, that the distance learning hasn't necessarily been working well. But I would posit, and teachers do as well, that sending kids back before we have something in place that actually makes sense, before we have those structures in place and the designs necessary, according to CDC recommendations, would result in a complete failure. A lot of teachers, paraprofessionals, parents, grandparents, and other people getting sick. And we know what that is going to look like. So I think that it's just extremely detrimental and extremely idiotic for the president to be pushing something like this, and to also have the support of many Republican governors who they were willing to risk our grandparents a few months ago, and today they're willing to risk the kids, the parents, the teachers, and everybody else.
But what you're dealing with here that really is a fundamental problem. This is where failure of leadership comes in.
Absolutely.
This is where, Rob, having an administration, there is no way in the world a Dr. Anthony Fauci should give an interview and say he hasn't briefed the president in 2 months. That can happen. You can't have somebody sitting in the Oval Office contradicting the Centers for Disease Control and their rules when it comes to opening schools. You can't. This is an absolute travesty of what we're witnessing, of epic proportions, of an administration that is grossly unprepared and who doesn't care about the people.
Doesn't care, grossly unprepared, and doesn't care. Doesn't care at all, doesn't care about the consequences, because leadership, people follow what the leader do no matter what. People say that they're independent. If you look at what they do, people are following in line. Many Republicans, many of his followers, and they are resisting, and it's causing people's lives. It's causing their lives, it's causing other lives, and it's causing the economy to go backwards. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help them get reelected. I would just say this. I think Michael talked about earlier, not necessarily having faith in some younger kids to not socially distance. I don't have faith in a lot of the American people. They're showing that they don't want to do it. Like we're watching that. We have at least 30% of the American people that are just going to say, I don't care. And what we know is they're going to carry it on, and we're going to continue this process. And kids are carriers. They may be less prone to getting sick from COVID-19, but they're not less prone to being carriers and getting their grandmother sick and getting other people sick. So are we just saying, or getting administrators sick, as Amisha and you, Roland, pointed out? So are we just saying those people don't matter anymore? This has gone away? I mean, I just don't understand any of it. I really don't.
Michael.
It's so problematic when you have, and everything comes back to the leader. Now, Mayor Bottoms just announced she's probably going to roll back where they are in Atlanta, because forget school. They're not even thinking about that. They just know that their communities are not safe and not ready. Obviously, the red state leaders or red state mayors of states and cities are trying to make sure this guy gets reelected. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care that more than 133,000 people have died, and that's just what's on record. Is probably more. So and I know everyone's mentioned it, without the proper leadership, I don't even know why, and I'm being a little facetious, but I don't even know why the media covers 45 anymore. He's irrelevant, because all he's doing is talking to about 25, maybe 26% of the people in America. The rest aren't even listening to him anyway. So I don't know why we're following him either.
Amisha, again, I just think that what we're dealing with right now, we're dealing with a group of people who frankly don't give a damn. I think you're seeing the result of that in polling numbers. And I'll say this here, and the Lincoln Project has said this as well. Every single Republican senator who has allowed this nonsense to go on should lose their job in November. Every one. I have absolutely. John Cornyn, you need to go. Arizona, Maine, North Carolina, Georgia, Colorado, Montana. These people have allowed this to go on. No hearings, no challenges. No, it's like, oh, no, we're scared. Whatever Trump wants to do, we're fine with it. People are dying, and these people are playing games, and we've lost 133,000 people.
I agree with you 100%, Roland. My fear, though, is that there is a considerable percentage of the American population that does not. There are people who consistently don't want to wear masks, refuse to social distance. I have absolutely no problem with what this president is saying, irrelevant to the actual numbers that we're seeing of COVID-19 cases tick up. I think that what Trump has done is lull the American psyche and help to actually, infiltrate I is me type of understanding, so we can be isolationists, we can do whatever we want. He's hardcore. He's pushing this ideology that to a lot of people is something that they still believe in. And I don't actually know what those people will have to see before that changes. And like I've heard you say on this show multiple times, 2020 is going to be, November is going to be a turnout race. It is not just going to be us watching COVID numbers or watching unemployment numbers rise or watching the consistent failures of Donald Trump. He's done that since he got elected in 2016. However, we haven't seen a huge tide change in terms of his electorate and that base that continues to support him. So I don't necessarily think that these numbers are going to move them. What I do think will, and holds the possibility of doing so, is if there was a heightened risk with opening these schools, because people don't naturally want to risk their kids. They also don't really want to risk their grandparents. But I think that what we're seeing right now is a nation that has been lulled to idiocracy because of the man who happens to be in the White House. And I don't think that that changes anytime too soon, irrespective to the COVID numbers that we're seeing.
Yeah, bottom line is
to hope that our America looks different, but that's a hard sell.
These nuts are going to continue yelling and screaming about masks. Is going to continue. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, we support black-owned companies right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Well, Seek.com is one of those companies. Mary Spio, she is the founder. She is the architect, the inventor. These two products here, these are virtual VR headset where you can pop your phone right in. You can watch a 360-degree video right from your phone with this particular headset. You can also go to their website, Seek.com, and look at the programming that they have that's also virtual reality. They also have these great headphones right here, folks. Allows you to listen to music. If you're a gamer, you can also do that. 360-degree headphones, 4D. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. All you got to do is simply go to and use this promo code. If you want to get either one of those items, go to promo code is right there. RMVIP 2020. RMVIP 2020. Pop that in. Will allow you to be able to get the products. That's how you can support them and how you can support Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so again, Seek.com, CEEK.com.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered?
Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.